comic enthusiasts. Welcome back to HC Comics, your gateway to the colorful and captivating world of comics. Today, we're embarking on the next exciting chapter of this comic series together. Wishing you all some relaxing moments as we dive into HC Comics adventure. Returning to the main developments of the story, in this episode, we start with the scene.
This is the story of Sejun, who became the world's strongest simply by farming with his cute monster pets and even evolving them, like these poison bees evolving into a cute human-like bee. But things weren't always like this for him. It all started 10 years ago when a mysterious black tower appeared everywhere. The tower was so strong that not even a nuclear bomb could destroy it. One day, people began coming out of the tower and sharing their experiences. They said they were sucked into a portal and ended up inside the tower. When they entered, they gained amazing powers. If they conquered the tower, they could get great rewards and mythical items, like a golden ticket that let ordinary people enter and gain powers too. Our hero, Sejun, dreams of buying a ticket and entering the tower one day. But suddenly a black hole appeared behind him in the empty space. Startled, Sejun stared at the black hole, his heart racing with excitement about the possibility of fulfilling his dreams. He closed his eyes, thinking the hole will suck him in like others, but to his surprise, black hole hadn't transported him anywhere. Confused and alarmed, he muttered, "Why am I still here?" Before he could contemplate any further, the black hole began to shrink. "No, my future!" he shouted in desperation, unwilling to give up on his dreams. Determined to get into the tower at any cost, Sejun charged into the black hole with reckless abandon. As he disappeared into the darkness, he could feel his heart pounding in his chest, wondering where he would end up. When Sejun finally emerged from the black hole, he was confused and disoriented as, on the first floor of the tower, there were supposed to be luxurious chandeliers lighting up the area. But this place was a cave made of rocks, with the only exit was the hole in the cave ceiling. Frustrated, he screamed, "Where the hell am I?" Trapped and alone, our protagonist found himself in a dire situation within the mysterious tower he had longed to enter. He had spent a full day searching for an exit. To his disappointment, the only exit was the hole in the cave ceiling. However, climbing the wall to reach the arched hole in the ceiling seemed impossible unless he was Spider-Man. As he pondered his fate, the sudden ringing of his phone alarm startled him. Despite being lost in this strange place, the alarm assured him that it had been exactly one day since he arrived. Hungry and disoriented, he rummaged through his meager supplies to assess his situation. With only a bottle of water, 27 cherry tomatoes, 10 green onions, 7 pumpkin sweet potatoes, and a washed apple, he had to make his provisions last. He decided to eat the apple first, savoring its sweetness and the momentary relief it provided. Each bite of his other raw vegetables brought unexpected pleasure, their flavors and textures a surprising delight. After finishing 1 sweet potato and 5 cherry tomatoes, Sejun picked up a green onion, and then he buried the white part of the onion root in the soft soil where the sunlight entered. Then he planted 2 sweet potatoes on the left side and cherry tomatoes on the right side. Then suddenly, the ground beneath our protagonist's feet trembled violently, the shockwave coursing through his body, causing him to shudder in pain and confusion. "What's going on?" he muttered. As he tried to steady himself, he noticed the light streaming down from the cave ceiling had taken on an eerie blue hue. His eyes widened in disbelief as a colossal black dragon appeared in the sky, its roar reverberating throughout the cavern. The sight of the majestic creature soaring through the air, bathed in the blue light, left him in awe. Before he could fully process the bizarre sight, his vision blurred, and he succumbed to unconsciousness. Upon awakening, our protagonist struggled to regain his bearings. He was astonished to learn that he had been unconscious for 2 whole days. His shock only intensified when he turned around to find a fully grown tree standing behind him. "What the? A tree? Isn't this a green onion that I planted? When did it grow this big? Was the green onion something that could grow this big within 2 days?" he thought. He couldn't help but wonder if the mysterious power within the tower had affected not only the green onion, but also the other plants he had sown. To his amazement, he discovered that 52 cherry tomato sprouts had emerged as well. Determined to make the most of his newfound resources, he began harvesting the enormous green onion. The task was more challenging than he anticipated, but eventually he succeeded in gathering the crop. Curious about the taste of this extraordinary plant, he took a cautious bite. To his surprise, it was so spicy that his eyes became watery and his face turned red. He immediately ran towards the pond next to him and drank some water to calm down, swearing he would never eat this thing raw ever again. Now, to calm down his taste buds, he started eating cherry tomatoes, thinking that the sun never set there. Instead, the blue moon phenomenon occurred on the 10th floor, casting the area into temporary darkness. 10 years had passed since the tower's mysterious appearance, and the powerful Phoenix Guild had managed to clear up to the 37th floor. Little information was available about the floors above the 30th. However, he knew from YouTube videos that skeletons roamed floors 10, goblins on 11, orcs on 20, and spider monsters from the 31st floor onwards. What puzzled him was the dragon he had encountered. No one had ever mentioned dragons or lizard-like creatures in the tower. Which floor is this? He wondered. Lying down, he wondered if he was on a floor so high that no one had yet reached it. Just then, water droplets fell on his face, and he quickly got up. Was it raining in the tower? He had heard that the weather was almost always pleasant, and as he looked up, the sky was clear. However, he spotted something moving very fast and grew scared, thinking it might be a monster. But the creature he saw approached him, revealing itself to be a cute rabbit drooling over his crops. He was surprised and wondered if the rabbit was a monster too. The rabbit jumped from the ceiling and he rushed to catch it, but the rabbit used his head as a stepping stone and landed safely on the ground. It hopped over to the green onion plants, and Sejun realized that this rabbit was something extraordinary. The rabbit pointed at the green onion plants, and Sejun asked if it wanted to eat them. The rabbit responded, and he understood that it wanted to eat. He broke off a leaf of green onion and handed it to the rabbit, who eagerly accepted. As the rabbit devoured the leaf, he told it that it could have more if it liked. Then he noticed that the plants had already grown back. At this rate, he would have to harvest them twice daily. But the rabbit started saying something loudly, and he realized it wasn't talking to him. He looked up at the cave entrance and saw another rabbit approaching. She landed and handed the first rabbit a straw hat and a watering can, and they both stood before him. He was surprised to see another rabbit and thought that the two might be related. He asked the rabbits if they were married, and they confirmed his suspicion. The next day, we see the rabbits farming and being very happy, while Sejun reflects on how all of this happened. Yesterday, after the rabbits introduced themselves to him, they told him that they wanted to live in the cave. They looked too cute as they tried to persuade him. Sejun felt that he might die from the cuteness overdose and accepted their request on one condition. He told the rabbits that they could not live there for free. If they helped him with farming, he would consider letting them stay. He thought it would dissuade the rabbits a bit, but instead of hesitating, they jumped at him and started cuddling. Now, he is sitting in his spot, watching the rabbits work. He thinks that the rabbits are using their cuteness to control him, but he lets it slide. Before we proceed further into the video, it took a lot of time and effort to make this video, so if you haven't liked this video and subscribed to the channel yet, please do so. From the bottom of my heart, I thank you all for supporting this channel. Now let's continue with the video. He asks the rabbits if the tools they were using were special items. The husband rabbit had a watering can that seemed to have an endless supply of water, and Sejun is not sure about it, but it seemed to him that the wife rabbit had a magic pocket that contained all the tools she needed for farming. Sejun says that he is jealous and wishes he had such a wonderful item. The rabbits have completed harvesting the green onions, and they are excited to show them to Sejun. Sejun tells them to dry the green onions and starts inspecting other crops, but the rabbits are looking at Sejun with eager and impatient eyes. They are asking him a question, and Sejun understands what they want. He tells them that they passed his test, and now they can live in the cave. The rabbits jump for joy upon hearing the good news and start talking about something. They rush to a corner of the cave, and Sejun wonders what they are up to now. The wife gives her husband a shovel, and he starts digging. In no time, he creates a home for himself and his wife. The wife places a floral wreath on the door of their new house and welcomes her husband to enter, but he is exhausted from digging and building a house and can barely stand. Sejun approaches them and says that the husband rabbit was great for making a house so quickly. The husband rabbit gives him a thumbs up, but then he feels his wife's hand on his shoulder. She is blushing and cutely pointing at the door, and the husband is terrified. He is scared, but his wife drags him along for some sweet lovemaking. Sejun hears the sounds coming from their house and wishes the husband all the best, but he is crying inside as he is jealous of him for having a wife. That jealousy does not last long, and Sejun walks back to his spot. He says that it was boring to be alone in the cave, and now, thanks to the rabbits, he has someone to help him and something cute to look for. Then he lay down onto the bed made up of onion leaves to rest comfortably, but after some time he felt something burning. Suddenly his back started burning. He jumps into a standing position and rolls on the ground, feeling that his back is on fire. He is wondering what just happened as he gets up, and he sees the reason behind it. The plastic water bottle filled with water was acting as a lens and burning the dried onion leaf. Sejun had knowledge from a renowned survival show, learning that rubbing 2 dry leaves together might produce fire. He had been trying for hours without success, his frustration and disappointment mounting. Yet just as he was on the verge of giving up, a tiny spark caught his eye, and a thrill of excitement surged through him. Curious about Sejun's activities, the rabbits emerged from their dwelling to investigate. He enlisted their aid in fanning the embers by blowing on the pile of dried leaves while he employed a bottle as a lens. United in their efforts, the trio persevered, and at long last the leaves burst into flames. Triumphant, Sejun reveled in his newfound ability to create fire. Casting a glance at the onion plants, he opted to cook them over the open flame. He roasted one stalk, peeled away the charred exterior, and took a tentative bite. To his amazement, the cooked onion leaf was so delectable that he couldn't help but exclaim in delight. Declaring it delicious, he eagerly began roasting another. Intrigued by the transformative effects of cooking, the rabbits decided to try it for themselves. They too roasted an onion leaf, and as they sampled the sweet treat, their eyes sparkled with the pleasure of experiencing a new and delightful flavor. Sejun was very happy, as, for the first time, he had eaten a full stomach. In the past few days, after discovering fire with the help of the rabbits, Sejun made torches out of green onion leaves and placed them around the cave. This helped him to roam around the cave easily, especially in the dark areas like the pond. He was near the pond with a torch in his hand when he saw something moving in the water. A fish jumped out of the water, and Sejun was so startled that he barely dodged its open mouth. The fish had jumped with too much power and found itself on land, unable to return to the water. This was the first time Sejun had seen a fish in the cave. He wondered if the fish was attracted to the light of the torch, and his intuition was proved correct. And just like that, Sejun discovered fish in the cave. He killed the fish and roasted it over the fire, even though he had no seasoning. The fish was really tasty, and Sejun found the rabbits drooling as he ate the fish and asking for their share. He was shocked because he had not expected rabbits to be meat-eaters, but since they were basically monsters, he thought it was natural. A few days later, the blue moon appeared once again, and Sejun realized that on this floor, the blue moon phenomenon occurred every 30 days. He had been relying on his laptop and power bank to charge his phone and keep track of the date, but eventually they too reached their limit. Unable to use his phone any longer, Sejun began marking the days on the cave wall with a stone. "So it's been 61 days, he said. A few days ago, something amazing had happened. Sejun had seen a tired male rabbit open the door of his house, and without wasting a moment, a group of baby rabbits bolted out. They were the children of the rabbit couple that had been recently born, and they had become fond of Sejun, who had become their uncle. They ran straight at Sejun and jumped on him, causing him to fall to the ground. They were really cute, and Sejun couldn't get enough of their cuteness, even as they nibbled at his face. He laughed and enjoyed their company. Sejun looked at the sleep-deprived husband rabbit and said that raising babies must be hard, but for now he would take care of the babies for a while, and the couple should relax and eat breakfast. The cherry tomato plants had started flowering, and Sejun took the baby rabbits with him to check them out. The babies frolicked around on the farm as Sejun inspected his plants. The flowers had bloomed, and even though they were tomato flowers, Sejun now thought he had a flower garden. To bear fruit, pollination was necessary, and he had to do it manually. Sejun used a small stick to artificially pollinate the flowers, but all the bending and working was taking a toll on his back. A baby rabbit put its face inside a flower and got pollen on its face. It sneezed, and Sejun started laughing. But then, Sejun noticed something. The tomato plants had started to bear fruit. After so long, his hard work was starting to show some results. Sejun celebrated the first fruits of his cherry tomato plants and danced with the baby rabbits. The day before the blue moon, Sejun made preparations to survive it. He put out the fire and stored a small amount of burning leaves under huge boulders. He was wearing makeshift clothes made from onion leaves, thinking that it would be enough to stay warm and hidden. The rabbits also headed back to their homes as the time for the blue moon drew near. Something scary always happened whenever the blue moon occurred, but Sejun was confident that they would survive it like the previous ones. He thought it was going to be a piece of cake and went into hiding. The blue moon began, and monsters started screeching throughout the forest. Sejun was not afraid, but he was tired and hoped that the blue moon would end soon. To prepare for an unlikely situation, he had already hidden things with a strong odor and was now hiding in a corner. However, since it was hard to tell how much time had passed, he was growing tired of waiting. The monster cries did not help either. They were far away, but they could still make him shiver. As Sejun hoped that this blue moon would also pass without incident, he heard a loud roar. It was different and more intense than the voices of other monsters, almost as if it were close to him. Indeed, a huge monster was walking towards the cave, squashing full-grown trees beneath its feet. It approached the entrance to the cave, which was too small in comparison to its size. The monster stared down the hole, and inside, Sejun gaped at it. He was scared of the giant bear-like monster in front of him, but thankfully, the monster had not noticed him yet. Sejun thought he should hide in a better place before the monster spotted him. He was trembling as he picked up his bag and started moving quietly and slowly. However, taking the bag with him turned out to be a mistake. As he picked up his belongings, the things inside the bag dropped, creating a loud noise due to the empty water bottle. The monster's attention was attracted by the sound. Sejun stared in horror, first at his stuff, and then up at the beast, who was now trying to peek inside the cave. Sejun screamed in fear, and the bear roared in response. A few moments later, Sejun was found unconscious with the rabbits trying to wake him up. When the baby rabbits failed to rouse him, their father slapped Sejun, and he woke up. He was still afraid of what he had seen before passing out and asked the rabbits what had happened to the blue moon. As he looked around, he realized that it had ended. The husband rabbit told Sejun that he was unconscious when they found him and said that he had passed out when he saw the monster. Sejun wanted to know what had happened after that. He had been terrified and couldn't move when the monster tried to force its way into the cave, and he had passed out after the monster roared. Sejun remembered the incident and shivered. He had almost lost his life at the hands of that monster. Feeling cold, the wife rabbit created a large fire and a blanket of onion leaves. Sejun sat in front of the fire with the baby rabbits snuggled up to him. The wife rabbit also brought him roasted fish, and Sejun thanked her. As he ate, Sejun realized that the monster had noticed this plate. It may have been due to another monster or because it couldn't get inside the cave due to the small entrance, but the monster had left without causing harm. However, there was no guarantee that he would be safe if it returned. He thought he had gotten lucky this time, but it might go differently next time. After everything he had done to survive, he didn't want to die. He decided that the best course of action was to eat well and stay alive. While Sejun was eating, the husband rabbit approached him, wanting to show him something. Sejun followed him and found something unbelievable, a ripe cherry tomato. But it was nothing like he had expected. It was blue and glistening in the sunlight. Sejun was shocked, but the blue color wasn't the first thing he noticed about the fruit. He bent down and tried to pick up the large, ripe fruit, then wondered why it was blue. As he pondered this, a window appeared in front of Sejun, informing him that he had completed the quest to harvest the fruit containing the energy of the blue moon. Sejun was shocked. He couldn't believe that the thing in front of him was an actual message window. The message on the window changed, and now it said that the tower manager was interested in him because of his amazing achievements. It had been keeping a keen eye on Sejun, but it wasn't happy. Confused, Sejun wondered why the tower manager wouldn't be happy with him, and the husband rabbit didn't know what was going on either. Sejun learned that he was not a duly invited guest, and the tower manager had accepted it as a blunder. It wanted to eliminate Sejun. Shocked, he asked the window what it meant. Was it a mistake that he had ended up in the tower? He angrily said that if that were the case, he should be allowed to go home immediately. But the window said that the tower master wanted to kill Sejun to eradicate all proof of this mistake. Sejun was flabbergasted. He screamed at the screen, saying that he had completed a wonderful achievement, and instead of rewarding him, the manager wanted to kill him. The system window fell silent for a while, and Sejun wondered what was happening. The next message he received changed his mood from scared and angry to elated. The tower manager was awakening him. Sejun felt an aura surrounding him as soon as the message was displayed. He couldn't believe it, and confirmed with the window that he was officially awake in the tower. Eagerly, he awaited to see which job he would be assigned, hoping for something like a wizard. However, his assigned job was a tower farmer with a proficiency of F rank. All the joy and excitement left Sejun's face, and he went blank. The windows continued to give him messages about his job. He would never get sick, be close to nature, and gain experience points by harvesting crop. Sejun was shocked. There was no job class other than a warrior and a magician inside the tower. How could he be a farmer? He commanded the system to open his status window and found that his talent was ordinary, and his stats were all at 1. 1. He stared at his status window, but the only thing he could focus on was his ordinary talent. Yelling in frustration, Sejun tried to smash the blue tomato to the ground, saying he didn't need it. But then he looked at the scared and concerned faces of the rabbits and stopped. Sejun was taken aback by the influence his actions had on his friends and looked at his farm, then at the tomato in his hand. He wasn't alone in growing it. Everyone had worked hard to reach this point. Sejun decided that he would continue farming, and the rabbits were happy. Sejun looked at the blue tomato in his hand, and an information window opened up telling him about the tomato. It was a magical cherry tomato imbued with the power of the blue moon. Not only was it tasty and nutritious, but when consumed, it would increase one's MP by 0.05 permanently. Sejun was shocked. The tomato in his hand was actually an item. Even though the effect was small, it was permanent and could boost one's stats. Sejun was amazed by himself. He had grown something as great as this. But the tower manager was watching him and wasn't satisfied with how things were going. As Sejun thanked the rabbits and celebrated with them for achieving this feat, a message window popped up in front of him. A quest had been triggered. He had to offer the blue cherry tomato to the manager. The reward for the quest was a job-related skill, and the penalty for refusing was death. Sejun read the entire message, and when he saw that the penalty was death, he became scared. He asked the window if it was a joke out of anger. He accused the admin of blackmailing him and using the name of a quest to justify his actions. Sejun told the admin that if he wanted the blue tomato, he should ask for it properly. If the admin played dirty games like this and made it look like he was giving Sejun options, that would not be good. Sejun was a bit relieved after venting his anger, but then he realized the death penalty and politely offered the blue tomato. The tomato in Sejun's hands vanished, and he received a message that he had completed the quest. The next window displayed the quest reward, and Sejun was excited to receive it. He knew it was a job-related skill, but since he had been focusing solely on the death penalty, he had momentarily forgotten about it. Sejun flattered the tower manager, calling him generous. Then, he decided to check what kind of skill he had obtained and opened the quest reward. The reward was the skill sowing at level 1. This skill slightly increased the probability of germination when a seed was planted. Sejun didn't know how to react, but he was certainly disappointed. However, he consoled himself, saying that since his job was that of a tower farmer, he couldn't expect much from the reward anyway. He went to the dark parts of the cave with a torch and encountered a fish that jumped out towards the flame. Sejun used a club made of green onion stems and leaves to hit it towards the land. The fish died, and Sejun learned that it was a piranha he had killed. The information window informed him that he had gained 2 experience points for it. This was the 5th fish Sejun had caught, and with that, he now had 10 experience points. After awakening as a farmer, Sejun was able to collect experience points. He caught several piranhas every day for several days and reached level 2. He wanted to catch more of them, but he knew it was a bad idea. He thought he shouldn't kill a living thing without reason. Besides, he obtained valuable protein from the fish. If he killed all of them and their population went extinct, he wouldn't be able to eat them again. Sejun roasted the fish and called his friends to eat. The baby rabbits were much hungrier than their parents. They ran towards Sejun, who was like their human uncle, and he gave them fish wrapped in onion leaves. They had grown a little and started eating a lot more than before. Sejun asked them to leave some food for their mom and dad as well. There was another benefit Sejun received from awakening. He could get information about the rabbits. He gave them their share, and the rabbits happily accepted it. They were farmer white rabbits, and Sejun had a few ideas about how they ended up with him. They were a type of monster he had never heard of outside the tower. Based on their name, Sejun realized that they specialized in farming, not fighting. He thought that this must be the reason they were not widely known. The rabbits began flirting as they ate, and Sejun watched them, wondering what had happened to them. He assumed that they must have lost their farms, and, after wandering for some time, found this cave and him. He wanted to know if the rabbits had a hometown to return to, but he couldn't understand them, and they couldn't understand him beyond basic farming terminology. Sejun expressed this to the husband rabbit, saying that he wished they could understand each other, but the rabbit didn't understand human speech either, and was confused. Now that they were done eating, Sejun said they should head back to the farm. Today was an important day for all of them, and the husband rabbit was also excited. They reached the farm to find the cherry tomatoes perfectly ripe. Sejun was amazed to see them. They were even better than the tomatoes he brought with him. The rabbits were also pleased to see the red tomato fruits. Sejun grew sentimental as he said that now was the time to harvest them. They had worked so hard to grow them. They had harvested one after the blue moon, but it didn't count. Sejun was nervous as he went to harvest the first tomato. His hand trembled, and the rabbits watched him anxiously too. However, Sejun picked a fruit that easily separated from the branch. He exclaimed that this was his first cherry tomato and it had ripened so well. The tomatoes brought more good news. Sejun saw information windows telling him that he had harvested a well-ripened magical cherry tomato and would receive 10 experience points for it. Sejun was surprised to learn that these tomatoes were also magical, just like the blue tomato. He read their information and discovered that when consumed, this tomato would decompose 10 grams of fat and increase 0.1 MP magic points for 10 minutes. The MP effect could be stacked up to 10 times, with a maximum time limit of 1 hour. Although this information was impressive, Sejun's name was listed as the cultivator of the tomato, and it was mentioned that it was an E-grade item with a shelf life of 30 days. Sejun was impressed that even though the effect of one tomato was quite small, if 10 of them were eaten together, they could boost MP by 1. He wondered if the other tomatoes were also the same, and set out to harvest them. He harvested the tomatoes, and each one was also a ripe magical cherry tomato, except for one that was unripe. He received only 7 experience points for the unripe tomato. Sejun was taken aback by his mistake, but he still got 7 experience points, and the unripe fruit returned to being a normal tomato. Sejun thought he had harvested enough crops for the day. He took a tomato and said he should have a taste, but the rabbits stomped their feet aggressively, and Sejun looked at them. They were angry, and he apologized. Sejun offered the tomatoes to them, saying they had achieved this together, so they should reap the rewards together, too. The husband rabbit was furious, but picked up a tomato. Sejun said they should celebrate the successful harvest and everyone should eat. When Sejun ate the tomato, his mind was blown. He felt as if he were lying on soft green grass, looking up at the clear night sky. Then, suddenly, a flare flew into the sky and exploded like a firework. Sejun got up and looked at it with his mouth open. The fresh scent of grass and the sweet and sour taste of the tomato mixed with the scent. Sejun felt that this feeling was similar to the fireworks in the middle of a summer festival. Sejun shed a tear of joy as he remembered the summer and felt it in the tomato. The wife rabbit asked her husband if he knew what Sejun was saying, and he had no idea. The rabbits took the remaining tomatoes and stored them in a makeshift storage facility, covering the tomatoes with onion leaves. Sejun lay down and watched them. He thought the rabbit kids were now big enough to help their parents. He was ready to sleep on mattresses and use an eye mask, both made of onion leaves. Sejun said they were indeed the children of Farmer White Rabbits. Sejun knew he should go to sleep now, as he was feeling sleepy, and was sure that when he woke up tomorrow, another wonderful day would greet him. Sejun lay down and immediately began to snore. But then, a quest was issued for him. He must offer 100 magical cherry tomatoes to the tower manager. The reward was a job-related skill, and the penalty was the same as before: death. However, Sejun was deeply asleep and did not notice the quest window. Suddenly, it began ringing loudly like an alarm, and Sejun was forcibly woken up. Annoyed, he offered 100 tomatoes to the manager. The manager, satisfied with Sejun's offering, gave him the reward for the quest. Sejun complained that the manager was forcing him to do things, and that he better receive something more useful this time. Upon opening the reward, Sejun discovered that his new skill was Harvest Level 1. This skill enabled him to obtain harvested crops in optimum condition, even if they were slightly overripe or underripe. Initially, Sejun was disappointed and questioned why he needed a harvesting skill. However, as he harvested tomatoes with his husband Rabbit, he found the skill to be more useful than he initially thought. Whenever he harvested slightly overripe or underripe tomatoes, the skill would activate, perfecting them to their optimum condition. As he did this, the proficiency of the harvest skill increased. Sejun admitted that since he did not have to wait for the cherry tomatoes to ripen, it was easier and faster for him. After they finished harvesting, Sejun told the husband rabbit that they should take the rest of the harvest home. But just then, he received another quest. Sejun had anticipated it, but he was not expecting the quest to have no reward. Sejun called the manager a thief for giving no reward, but since his last reward had helped him significantly, Sejun could at least give him that much. As he offered the tomatoes to the manager, the husband rabbit was shocked, but Sejun did not know that he was entering a vicious cycle. The manager issued quests again and again, with increasing demands and greed. The required number of tomatoes kept increasing, and finally, the manager reached new heights of shamelessness. The new quest was triggered, and Sejun had to offer 500 tomatoes to the manager for no reward. The penalty for refusing was still death. Sejun, infuriated, clearly refused to comply. After calmly refusing, Sejun threw a tantrum, stating that the manager had already taken hundreds of tomatoes. He needed to eat too, and so did the rabbits. The tower manager replied that it was the farmer's problem, not his, and told Sejun to stop protesting and give him the cherry tomatoes. This irritated Sejun even more. He said that he had worked hard for days and suffered a lot to harvest those tomatoes. The tower manager insisted that Sejun's job was as simple as sowing seeds and asked him not to overreact over something that was not a big deal. This was where the tower manager crossed the line. He should listen to his orders. Sejun replied that this was the reason he was not giving the tomatoes. The manager forcibly made him do this and did not even appreciate his efforts. Moreover, the compensation for the exploitation was also too low. Since it was the manager of the tower, this proved that it was a bad employer. Sejun's words and the hurt in his eyes shocked the tower manager. It hadn't realized this before and tried to apologize, but Sejun was already eating the tomatoes while teasing the manager. The manager got angry, telling Sejun it was upset because he ate the tomatoes himself. The manager threatened to kill Sejun on the spot if he didn't complete the request, but Sejun acted as if the manager was no big deal and gave him just 5 tomatoes. He said that he would give the rest later since he needed them to feed the kids too. Behind him, 2 baby rabbits were fighting for a tomato as their father tried to calm them. The tomato vanished, and the tower manager said that it would compromise this time. Sejun thanked the manager, and the message window vanished. He laughed to himself, realizing that the manager was about to apologize just now. But then he said out loud that the tower manager was simpler than he thought. It is now the 91st day, and the 4th blue moon event occurs. Sejun is sitting in a dark corner eating cherry tomatoes. He had heard that people with high MP could endure the roars of monsters to a certain level, which is why he was eating the tomatoes. Still, he hopes that nothing like the last time happens again. As Sejun wishes for time to pass quickly, his plants begin to gleam in the blue light. Sejun realizes what is going on as the energy of the light enters a tomato, turning it blue. Sejun cannot wait to harvest it, but he notices that the tomato plants are not the only ones being blessed. Even the sweet potato leaves are getting illuminated. The desire to check on them overcomes Sejun, and he walks towards his farm. He digs out the sweet potatoes with his bare hands and is amazed at the results. He now has a blue sweet potato in his hand, filled with the energy of the blue moon. When consumed, it would increase one's strength by 0.5 points permanently. The system window informs him that he has harvested a sweet potato with the energy of the blue moon, which has gained him a lot of experience. The proficiency of the skill harvest has also increased, and now it will be leveled up. Sejun then looks at the blue tomato and harvests it. As he holds the sweet potato in one hand and the tomato in the other, Sejun thinks he is holding the world in his hands. But that happiness is soon disturbed by a quest Sejun was expecting, and there are not 1 but 2 quests. Sejun has to offer both products imbued with the energy of the blue moon to the manager. There is no reward for either of the quests, and the penalty is death. Sejun thinks that the manager is really pushing it with 2 quests at a time. If Sejun refuses, the manager might just kill him this time. However, Sejun has a way to solve this issue. He offers 500 tomatoes to the manager, saying that he needs to complete the previous quest first. The manager quickly accepts the tomatoes and says that he is happy with the cherry tomatoes. But then the manager asks Sejun why he has not given the energy-filled crops to it already. Sejun apologizes for calling the manager simple earlier, asking them to let this slide for today and promising to give them later. The manager sighs and accepts this condition. Sejun then looks at the items in his hands and wonders what he should do with them, and that is not even a question. He tosses the blue tomato into his mouth and shudders. He could feel the summer festival and the fireworks in his mouth again, almost as if it were the first time he ate the tomatoes. The system window tells him that his MP has permanently increased by 0.5 due to eating the tomato. But then he wraps the sweet potato in onion leaves and throws it into the fire. He thinks it would be even better if he had tin foil with him, but the multi-purpose onion leaves are good enough. Sejun is happy and says that the time spent waiting for delicious food is the happiest time. The blue moon passes and the rabbits also come out. They all have questions for Sejun as they see him cooking something. He says that they had great timing as he was just about to call them. Sejun then excitedly says that he presents to them the sweet potato with the energy of the blue moon, and its delicious smell makes the rabbits drool. Sejun says that it is not much, but they should share it. But the husband rabbit stands in front of his family and stops them from taking up Sejun's offer. They are saddened as he tells them something, and Sejun realizes what the rabbit is saying. He wants Sejun to eat the sweet potato himself, as there is only one. Sejun is touched and thanks the husband rabbit for being the only one thinking about it. But even as Sejun agrees to eat the sweet potato alone, he is hiding the fact that he has already secretly eaten it. Sejun peels the sweet potato and takes a bite, but it is too hot, and he burns his tongue, spitting out whatever he just bit. The sweet potato in his hand falls to the ground as Sejun screams about burning his tongue and scalding his palate. The rabbits watch the sweet potato on the ground. The husband rabbit reaches down to grab a piece of the sweet potato, but his children swipe everything before him and then eat it. However, it is too hot for them, and they too spit it out. The baby rabbits start crying, and the husband rabbit is dejected that he got nothing, and that the sweet potato got wasted. This is another entry in Sejun's diary in the tower. He ate a fiery meal today, a little too hot for his liking. A few days later, Sejun is telling the baby rabbits that they are going to plant sweet potato sprouts from now on. The rabbits are confused, and Sejun says that it was the thing they were eating right now. Sejun scolds them and says that the baby rabbits are prohibited from eating the sweet potato sprouts for the time being. These words come as a devastating shock to the rabbits. The sweet potato sprouts have been their favorite snacks lately, and now they are trying to protest against Sejun's decision. All of them have different reactions to the order, and Sejun says that no matter how they complain, his decision is final. He thinks that there will be nothing left to plant if the babies keep on eating the sprouts. Sejun tries to convince the rabbits by saying that they will be having even better sweet potatoes for dinner, but they have to help him plant the sweet potato sprouts before that. In return, he would give them a special snack. Sejun has decided to expand the farm area to cultivate sweet potatoes, and for that, he needs the baby rabbits to cooperate with him. As soon as he tells them about the special snacks, they look at him with drooling mouths and gleaming eyes. Sejun tells them to start working, and the rabbits carry the sprouts to plant them. Their mother is harvesting the green onions, and Sejun asks her to leave one plant. It will then bloom a flower, and Sejun could get seeds from it. He has reached the conclusion that he needs to plant a seed for something to become an item. In the newly expanded farm area, the baby rabbits are hard at work. One of them digs holes, and the other plants the sprouts in them. But in a corner, one of the babies is too greedy to part with his favorite snack. He cannot control his urge and takes a bite of the leaf. Reacting to that, his father smacks him for doing something like that. Sejun is also harvesting the tomatoes, and he gets a lot of messages from the tower system. He has ranked up from an F-rank farmer to an E-rank farmer. His job level has increased, and his job characteristics will be strengthened because of this. Sejun is also glad to know that he has reached level 8. To celebrate, he decides to make the snacks a bit earlier. He takes the cherry tomatoes and puts them on a skewer. At the same time, he gets a message from the tower manager. The manager was keeping an eye on Sejun and what he was going to cook today. The message disappears soon, and Sejun thinks that this was quite a harmless action. He begins roasting the cherry tomatoes and then calls the rabbits to start eating. They leave their work and come running to him, and Sejun presents them with special roasted cherry tomatoes on bone skewers. The information window for the roasted tomatoes also opens. The skewer used by Sejun was made from cleaned piranha bones, and because of the cooking, the tomatoes were softer and sweeter. The rabbits take a skewer each, and they look really excited to eat it. Sejun tells them that it is easy to carry around and eat in this form, but he also warns them that it is quite hot, and they should blow on it before eating. However, the rabbits are already enjoying it. Sejun then says that since the sweet potato sprouts were already planted, they should dig some sweet potatoes for dinner. As Sejun digs the sweet potatoes, he finds 5 sweet potatoes in a plant. He reads the information about them, and they are called strength sweet potatoes. They have similar effects to the magical tomato, but with strength. Anyone who eats them would gain an additional 0.1 strength for 10 minutes. And this effect can be stacked up to 10 times in an hour. The other effect is that it would break down 10 grams of fat and help with bowel movements, and this bonus would also apply to those who have not awakened yet. Sejun counts that he now has 15 sweet potatoes, which means he got 5 potatoes for each one he sowed, and that is pretty good for a first harvest. But then Sejun spots a fallen potato sprout. He plants it, thinking it would be a waste to leave even a single sprout, but then he gets messages from the system saying that the proficiency frequency of the skill sowing is increasing because of this action. Now, Sejun realizes that even this qualifies as sowing, and he also realizes that he must plant all the sprouts himself to increase his skill level. Sejun asks the baby rabbits to stop in a hurry because now he wants to do it himself. Inside its office, the manager tries to replicate what Sejun just did. It has cherry tomatoes on a skewer, and they are roasted over a fire. The manager eats the tomatoes and immediately spits some of them out since they are burned and bitter. But then it ponders what was wrong with its tomatoes. The humans seem to eat them fondly. Then the sweet taste of the tomatoes spreads through its mouth, and the manager realizes how delicious they are. Now it uses the magic crystal ball to see what Sejun is doing at the moment. When the manager finds him eating sweet potatoes with the rabbits, it gets angry. It screams, saying, "How could those punks start eating sweet potatoes without me? I am the great black dragon alien Friton." The manager sends a quest to Sejun immediately, demanding one roasted sweet potato. There are no rewards for this quest, and the punishment for refusing is death. Sejun is not in the mood to do the quest and tells the manager to postpone it. The manager is shocked and says that it wants the sweet potatoes right now. If Sejun does not give them, there will be consequences. Sejun says that there is only one sweet potato left. He asks the manager what it could offer in reward. The manager considers it for a while and then revises the quest. A reward is added for another job-related skill. Sejun thinks that this reward is good enough and offers the sweet potato to the manager. He opens the reward and finds that it is a level 1 seed store. When this skill is activated, Sejun can buy a product at the seed shop every 30 days. Sejun is overjoyed. A seed store means that he can purchase things inside the tower that are similar to what other awakened individuals have. He says that this was an amazing reward, and the tower manager should have given it to him earlier. Sejun activates the skill, and the seed store is open. Before that, it checks the transaction history of Sejun and finds that there were no previous transactions. But thinking about the transactions, Sejun arrives at an important question. How should he make purchases when he has no money? But then he gets another message that the store will offer entry-level services to the customer, Sejun. He is the first rookie-tier customer at the seed store, and because of that, a tower coin appears in front of Sejun, and he is shocked. He says that the seed store is the kindest and the best. The tower coin is a currency used inside the tower, but in the outside world, the cost of each tower coin is 1,000,000 won. Sejun opens the seed store to see what he can buy there. The message window tells him that for the rookie tier, he could see 3 random types of seeds, and at his current level, Sejun could only purchase one of them. The 3 types of seeds for this time are shown, and Sejun sees that he can buy 1,000 seeds of either red pepper, cabbage, or carrots for 0.1 tower coin each. Sejun thinks that the name Seed Store is quite fitting as it only has seeds. But then he looks at the price and thinks about the outside world's value of the tower coin. He is getting 1,000 seeds for 100,000 won, which is very expensive. Sejun considers what he should choose. Red pepper and cabbage could be a good combo to make kimchi, but he cannot buy them together, nor does he have the resources to process them here. The only option left is carrots. As soon as he says carrots, the attention of all the rabbits turns to Sejun. He asks them what is wrong, and the rabbits try to tell him that they want carrots. Sejun sees their excited expressions and says carrots again, getting the same reaction as before. He is enjoying this a bit too much, and the husband rabbit kicks him in the face for wasting time. Sejun purchases the carrot seeds for 0.1 tower coin and receives 1 seed store mile. The mileage can be used to raise the level of his seed store, and he needs 100 points to reach the next level. Sejun receives the seeds in a fancy pouch and thinks that the pouch is more expensive than the seeds themselves. But then he sees a message from the manager saying that it is satisfied with Sejun's purchase. Sejun makes a face and asks why it is getting satisfied. This is another entry in his diary. Now he has acquired carrot seeds by trading at the seed store. Sejun is excited to plant carrots, and so are the rabbits. But someone else is watching them from a distance. A large and cute bee observes Sejun and the rabbits as they celebrate acquiring carrot seeds. The bee, intrigued by the scene, hovers closer to get a better look at the new seeds and the joyous celebration of Sejun and the rabbit. Then, as the scene shifts, we see the husband and wife rabbits happily singing and lounging beside the area where Sejun had planted the carrot seeds. Observing their joy, Sejun realizes that even though the carrots haven't sprouted yet, the rabbits must have a strong affinity for them. However, he decides to let them enjoy themselves and takes a nap. After waking up, Sejun plans to pollinate the flowers and harvest the green onions. As Sejun closes his eyes, a baby rabbit also snuggles up and falls asleep beside him, but suddenly, he notices a buzzing sound whizzing past his ear. Sejun tries to swat away the annoyance without fully waking up, but the buzzing persists. Frustrated, he mutters, "Why did a bug have to show up now?" Curiosity gets the better of him, and he finally gets up to investigate. To his surprise, he finds a giant and adorable bee. The bee gazes at Sejun with curiosity, and he stammers for a moment before exclaiming, "She's so cute!" He assumes that this bug must be a monster in disguise. Sejun cautiously calls the bee closer, hoping to identify its monster form. However, his joy quickly fades when he discovers that it is a poison honeybee. Fear seizes him as he reads the name. He turns to ask the rabbits if they know whether the bee is dangerous or not. However, the rabbit couple has already hurriedly retreated with their children to their burrow. They are scared of the poisonous bee, leaving Sejun stunned as he watches them flee. He yells at the rabbits, calling them mean, his face contorting as he questions how they could leave him alone like this. Seeking answers, Sejun turns to the tower manager, who provides him with more information. The manager explains that poison honeybees are carnivorous creatures that hunt monsters using their venomous stingers. The stingers pose a significant threat, and the manager advises Sejun to stay away from them. Sejun becomes fearful after learning that these bees feed on meat, causing him to believe that they are no longer truly honeybees. As the bee approaches, Sejun frantically tries to shoo her away, insisting that he's just a bag of bones with no meat to offer. He pleads with the bee, hoping she would spare him, but she continues to draw near. Sejun perceives her as a terrifying monster, his fear growing. In his desperation, Sejun fumbles around with his other hand, searching for something to defend himself. To his surprise, he grasps a broken branch from a tomato plant, complete with a single flower. Sejun swings the makeshift weapon towards the bee, suggesting that she should feast on the flower instead of him. The bee, intrigued, gazes at the tomato flower, and Sejun remains apprehensive as she approaches. However, when he opens his eyes, he realizes that the bee was actually feasting on the flower's nectar. Sejun is taken aback, but then the bee, with a contented expression, smiles at him. Sejun questions the tower manager, asking if they were sure the bees were carnivorous, but receives no response. Then, a realization dawns on Sejun. He remembers something quite fundamental. Bees have a fondness for nectar. He cautiously approaches the honeybee and suggests that if she's still hungry, there are plenty of other flowers she can enjoy. Sejun encourages her to indulge to her heart's content, and the poison honeybee happily flutters towards the blossoms. Sejun smiles to himself, realizing that what he initially feared turned out to be a pleasant surprise. With the bee's presence, he won't have to manually pollinate the cherry tomatoes anymore. His gaze falls upon the rabbit family, hidden behind a rock. Sejun gives them a reproachful glance, remarking that they had run away, only concerned about themselves. He questions how they dare to return. The rabbits, attempting to appease Sejun's anger, cling to him and adopt a cute demeanor. Sejun asserts that he won't stop being mad at them. However, just as he finishes speaking, the poison honeybee returns, having finished her meal. She flies directly towards Sejun, causing him to take a few steps back until he's backed against the rock. Sejun asks the bee if she isn't full yet, apprehensive about his safety. To his surprise, the bee lands gently on his stomach. Sejun, adjusting his t-shirt and stretching a bit, realizes that the bee didn't mean to harm or frighten him. She just wanted to sleep, and Sejun finds her incredibly cute even while she's asleep. However, a small part of his mind remains anxious, and Sejun asks the bee if she isn't planning to sting him. Surprisingly, the rabbits haven't run away either. Sejun realizes that he has another chapter to add to his diary about getting lost in the tower. Today, his family in the dungeon has gained one more member. A few weeks have passed since Sejun's first encounter with the bee, and the tomato crops are ready to be harvested once again. The wall where Sejun marked the number of days now displays 24 characters. Each character represents 5 days, which means he has been here for 120 days. We see Sejun diligently harvesting tomatoes alongside the wife rabbit, while the husband rabbit tends to the carrot seedling, watering them. The baby rabbits continue to play around, occasionally disturbing Sejun as they get too close. He scolds them and instructs them to go somewhere else. The baby rabbits run off without a care, and Seo-jun glances at their siblings, who are engrossed in their own playful activities. Seeing them so carefree, Seo-jun comments that they're having a great time. After all, they should enjoy playing while they're still young. The poison honeybee joins Seo-jun, settling on his shoulder. He asks her if she has had her fill of nectar for the day. As she lands, Seo-jun reflects that several weeks have passed since the poison honeybee arrived and became a part of their family. He informs her that it will soon be lunchtime, and the bee seems excited, gently rubbing her cheek against Seo-jun's. He remarks that the poison honeybee has developed a routine. She works in the fields during the morning, collecting nectar, and in the evening she returns to the forest outside the cave. Thanks to her contributions, his workload has significantly decreased. He calls out to the rabbits, announcing that it's time to eat, and they eagerly rush towards him. He believes that the poison honeybee probably won't go back to her original group or hive. Maybe she didn't even have one to begin with. Regardless, she has found her place among their unconventional family, and they have accepted her with open arms. As they enjoy their meal, Seo-jun holds a roasted green onion stem, and the honeybee perches on it. Recently, she started spitting honey, and she continues to do so now. The honey drips over the roasted onion, creating a unique dish called honey onion. The sweet flavor of the freshly roasted green onion is elevated by the sticky and sweet honey from the poison honeybee. Seo-jun, knowing the secret behind this combination, takes a bite of the honey onion and exclaims, "Wow, it's incredibly sweet and delicious." The rabbits also share his delight as they savor the honey-coated food. Seo-jun engages in conversation with the honeybee, expressing his initial fear when he discovered her poisonous nature. However, he quickly acknowledges the positive impact she has had on his life. Thanks to her, he could obtain honey promptly, and she even helped expand his farming field. As Seo-jun relishes the honey onion, he expresses his gratitude to the honeybee for her valuable assistance. He mentions that in a few months he will consume so much honey that he'll rival the bears in the wild. Suddenly, a message from the Tower Master appears, conveying the Master's joy for Seo-jun's progress. However, as V turns to read the message, it vanishes before his eyes. Several more days pass, and Seo-jun realizes that the blue moon is approaching soon. He reads the characters on the stone wall while the baby rabbits continue their playful antics and munch on food. Seo-jun feels a slight unease about the upcoming blue moon, even though nothing bad has happened during previous occurrences. He understands that anything can go wrong at any moment. Hoping for a safe blue moon this time, he reflects on the fact that it is the 121st day since he got lost and coincides with the day of the blue moon, which occurs every 30 days. Seo-jun is carrying a bag made of onion leaves filled with cherry tomatoes. He puts them inside their usual food hiding place, a rock circle covered with green onion leaves. Seo-jun is also wearing a jacket made of green onion leaves, and he remarks that this much food will be enough. However, his attention is drawn to the rabbit family. The husband rabbit and wife rabbit were trying to tell their children something, and the children were listening attentively. Seo-jun also notices that the rabbits seem especially anxious today. As it is almost time for the blue moon, Seo-jun asks them to go home. However, he stops mid-sentence as he sees the rabbit family huddle up. Seo-jun cannot think of anything that would make them behave so seriously, but they don't appear worried or scared either. Seo-jun is about to ask the rabbits if everything is all right when the rabbit couple suddenly bolts towards their home, leaving their kids behind. They rush inside their house, and Seo-jun is shocked by their actions. However, the rabbit couple turns back and waves at their children. They utter words that Seo-jun cannot comprehend, and with that, they quickly shut the door, leaving Seo-jun in a state of shock. He is astounded by what he has just witnessed. Seo-jun questions how the parent rabbits could leave their little ones exposed during the blue moon. However, before he can finish his sentence, the blue moon event commences. The moon eclipses the sun, casting a blue light that blankets the world. Seo-jun catches the sound of a menacing creature's roar emerging from behind him, leaving him speechless. Anxious, he slowly turns around to witness a sight that will forever be etched in his memory. To his astonishment, the noise intensifies, growing into louder roars and growls, but they are not originating from an external source. The source of the cacophony is none other than the baby rabbits. They no longer resemble their once adorable selves. Now they have undergone a startling transformation, turning into ferocious monsters devoid of reason. Seo-jun watches in silent disbelief as the baby rabbits, now towering and monstrous, have increased in size. Their fur has turned white, Their eyes burn red, and they possess menacingly sharp claws and fangs. As the baby rabbits roar, Sejun finds himself questioning the reality of the situation. Sejun, left bewildered and confused, exclaims, "What on earth is happening here?" Unable to make sense of the situation, he believes that his fate is sealed. However, in a sudden twist, something completely unexpected occurs. The rabbits begin to emit a brilliant purple light, dazzling in its brightness. The radiance becomes so intense that Sejun is forced to shield his eyes, closing them tightly. Gradually, as the light subsides, a remarkable transformation takes place. The baby rabbits undergo a mesmerizing evolution, gradually growing and maturing until they resemble their parents. 4 of them take on the appearance of white farming rabbits, while one stands out in striking contrast, its fur a deep pitch-black color. As the rabbits frolic and bounce about in sheer delight, Sejun stands there, mouth agape, utterly astounded by the incredible sight unfolding before him. In a state of shock, Sejun asks them if they have become adult rabbits now, and the rabbits happily affirm this. Sejun now realizes that it must be a part of the farmer rabbit's growth cycle. It is the 4th blue moon night since they were born, and Sejun wonders if this is some kind of coming-of-age ceremony. Suddenly, Sejun reflects on how he thought something was wrong with the rabbits. He covers his face with his hands and starts sobbing. Seeing this, the rabbits are all shocked and worried. The black rabbit tries to console Sejun, wanting him to not be sad anymore. When Sejun sees this gesture, he realizes that the rabbit's nature is still the same as before. Sejun becomes overwhelmed by the cuteness of the rabbits who have just reached adulthood. He stops behaving sadly and starts calling the rabbits little cute things. He even wants to give them retribution kisses, which makes the other rabbits run away. Finally, the blue moon passes, and everything returns to normal. After that, the husband rabbit opens the door, and his wife is just behind him. They see that their kids have grown up, and they are currently sitting around a fire with Sejun. Sejun waves to them, and the husband rabbit cannot stop smiling. The couple rushes to their kids, and they hug them tightly. Sejun fondly watches the heartwarming scene unfold. He wonders if he should prepare a coming-of-age feast for the rabbits as a gift. However, his attention is drawn to one rabbit who excitedly raises his hand and says something. Sejun watches him carefully, and then, out of nowhere, a shovel appears in the rabbit's hand. The rabbit proudly displays it, and Sejun is surprised to see it. He asks what they all have because it's not just one rabbit. All his siblings have something. Sejun observes that one of the rabbits has gotten a sickle and a bandana. Another rabbit has acquired a cart and is happily hauling his black rabbit brother. One of the white rabbits had a watering can, and the rabbit with the shovel was the first to show his tool. The rabbits are glad to have their tools and affectionately show them off, while their parents enthusiastically clap for them. Sejun realizes what has just happened. The rabbits can summon items. He understands that when the rabbits become adult farmer rabbits, they can have their own tools, but Sejun can't use those tools. Then suddenly the white rabbit with the cart accidentally drops the black rabbit. Sejun, puzzled by the turn of events, wonders why the black rabbit isn't summoning his own tool like the others. Determined to prove himself, the black rabbit summons his tool, much to Sejun's surprise. The tool that materializes is a massive wooden hammer, towering in size, especially for a rabbit. Sejun finds himself questioning why the black rabbit possesses such an unusual tool that doesn't seem like a typical farming implement. However, the black rabbit displays a hint of defiance, subtly conveying that he is no ordinary rabbit. Sejun takes notice of the rabbit's distinctiveness. While he could easily identify his siblings as white farmer rabbits, this particular rabbit stands apart. He is a warrior, black rabbit. Catching Sejun's mention of his name, the black rabbit winks mischievously, adding an air of intrigue to the situation. After a while, the rabbits begin working on the farm. Now the children are also working as diligently as their parents, and sometimes even outperforming them. The rabbit with the watering can supports his father in watering the plants. The one with the sickle swiftly cuts the green onions, impressing her mother with her skill. The rabbit with the cart carries tomatoes, while the one with the shovel digs holes for new crops. Then the rabbit with the cart arrives, pushing a cart filled with ripe tomatoes, and Sejun instructs the rabbit to place the tomatoes in a nearby heap. As he sees the rabbit's work, tears of joy forms in his eye, witnessing how the once cute little babies have grown up so well. However, Sejun notices that the black warrior rabbit is lying beside him, happily munching on tomatoes without a care in the world. Sejun realizes that this particular rabbit doesn't have a specific job at the moment. Curious, he strikes up a conversation with the Black Rabbit, mentioning that as a warrior rabbit, his role would typically involve fighting. But since they are in the cave, there are no monsters to battle against. Sejun understands that without any threats to the farm, the Black Rabbit doesn't have a clear purpose. The Black Rabbit acknowledges this, feeling a little disappointed. Sejun admits that even the Black Rabbit's mighty hammer wouldn't be of much use in farming tasks, and wonders what they should do next. However, to Sejun's surprise, the Black Rabbit eagerly comes up with an idea and gestures excitedly. The Black Rabbit leads Sejun to a pond within the cave, pointing towards it with enthusiasm. Sejun exclaims, realizing the brilliance of the idea. Hunting fish in the pond can be considered a different kind of battle, and this way the Black Rabbit can also contribute in a helpful way. Then, Sejun comes up with a plan. He will use a torch to lure out the fish from the pond, while the Black Rabbit will be in charge of catching them. Sejun asks the Black Rabbit to show off his warrior skills, and the rabbit eagerly agrees. Sejun waves the torch near the edge of the pond, and suddenly a piranha leaps out of the water, drawn towards the flame. Sejun tells the Black Rabbit that it's his moment to shine, and the rabbit jumps up with his mighty hammer. With a powerful swing, the Black Warrior Rabbit strikes the fish, sending it flying through the air. The fish crashes into the cave wall with a tremendous impact, leaving Sejun astonished by the result. He witnesses how the Black Rabbit's attack completely shatters the fish, turning it into mush. Bits of fish meat scatter in all directions, and only the head and bones remain intact. The Black Rabbit turns back, giving Sejun a thumbs up, unaware of the mess he has created. Sejun is utterly shocked by the outcome, and his reaction is completely justified. Later, when he presents the fish at dinner, it dampens the mood. A sense of disappointment hangs over the dinner table, and both Sejun and the Black Rabbit feel disheartened. Even the other rabbits are not too pleased about having to eat a fish in such a state. Sejun tries to console the Black Rabbit, assuring him that he will get better with practice. He encourages the rabbit not to be sad and to enjoy the food. Gradually, all the rabbits start adjusting to their roles, including the Black Warrior Rabbit, who becomes more adept at catching fish after his initial failure. He can now swiftly catch fish with just his hands, and Sejun cheers him on. The other rabbits are also occupied with their respective tasks, and everything is going smoothly. Another day dawns, and it marks the arrival of the 125th day. The 1-month waiting period to open the seed store has finally passed, and Sejun feels a surge of excitement as he sees the store open its doors once again. He eagerly wonders about the different types of crops that will be available this time and which option he should choose. The system window appears before Sejun, notifying him that at his current level, 3 random seeds are being sold today. However, he can only purchase one of them. The options presented to him are as follows: 50 sweet pumpkin seeds for 1 tower coin, 10 watermelon seeds for 5 tower coins, and 200 waxy corn seeds for 0.5 tower coin. Sejun is taken aback by the list of seeds this time, noting that the prices are much higher compared to the previous offering. He realizes that he only has 0.9 tower coins remaining after purchasing the carrot seeds last time. With this amount, Sejun can only afford to buy the waxy corn seed. He ponders over what he should do if the seed prices continue to rise. Worries fill his mind as he fears that he won't have enough money to buy anything the next time the seed store opens. Moreover, he feels stuck without any means to earn more money in this place. Sejun recalls that there were 3 ways to acquire tower coins within the tower. The first method involved receiving rewards for clearing a floor, but those rewards were only given once as a first clear bonus, and hunters didn't earn substantial profits from it. The second method entailed hunting monsters and selling their body parts. The monster parts could be sold to traveling merchants or the store on the first floor, and it was the best way for hunters to earn money. They could keep selling these parts to make a continuous profit. Another method was completing quests and receiving rewards for them, but it was more uncertain. The rewards varied a lot, so it was hard to know how much money could be earned. Sejun thinks about his situation. 2 of the options were not possible for him. He couldn't leave the tower, so clearing the floors was out of the question. That meant the only way he could make money was by completing quests given by the tower manager. Sejun calls out to the tower manager, asking if it can hear him. He requests to be rewarded with tower coins for completing quests now. The tower manager replies replies, saying it doesn't understand what Sejun means, but it promises to give him whatever he asked for when he grows up. Sejun is confused. The tower manager doesn't seem to know about tower coins and says it will give them to him when he's older. Sejun then asks how long he has to wait until he's considered a grown-up. The tower manager says he should be at least 300 years old. Sejun feels frustrated and expresses his anger towards the tower manager, questioning if it is playing a joke on him. He insists that he needs to keep a record of all the tower coins he is supposed to receive and pass on this information to his future children. Sejun imagines a chain that spans 300 years, with his 7th-generation grandchildren eventually receiving the tower coins on his behalf. He expresses his frustration towards the manager, as this condition leaves him with no chance of even having children of his own. However, the tower manager remains unresponsive to Sejun's outburst, and the message windows suddenly disappear, showing its disinterest in continuing the conversation. Sejun realizes that getting angry won't help his situation. Instead, he decides to focus on what he can do in the present moment to improve his chances of comfortable survival. Sejun understands that he can only afford to purchase the waxy corn seeds at the moment, and he believes it's a good choice. Corn can be delicious when steamed or grilled, and Sejun even considers grinding it into flour to make something like bread, although he's not sure if the idea will work. Determined, Sejun selects the option to buy the corn seeds. The system confirms his purchase of 200 waxy corn seeds, deducting 0.5 tower coins from his seed bank account. Additionally, Sejun has earned 5 seed miles, which he can use to level up the seed store in the future. A new cooldown period begins, and the system notifies Sejun that he will be able to access the seed store again in 30 days. In the meantime, a cloth pouch filled with corn seeds descends into Sejun's hand. He opens the pouch and takes a handful of seeds, showing them to the husband rabbit. Sejun asks for his opinion on the seeds, wondering if they look good. The husband rabbit affirms that they are indeed of good quality. Sejun suggests that they begin their work, and all the rabbits happily join him. However, before they start, Sejun interrupts himself and suggests that they have something to eat first. They roast the fish and enjoy the tomatoes as side dishes. Sejun finally satisfies his hunger and declares that he can't eat anymore. He decides to dry the remaining fish and store it for later. The rabbits, too, are full and relax around the fire with Sejun. Suddenly, the poison honeybee approaches Sejun, and he warmly welcomes her. He asks if it's all right for her to stay in the cave instead of returning to her home. The honeybee smiles and affectionately rubs her cheek against Sejun, indicating that it's okay for her to stay permanently. Sejun is delighted by this. But then the honeybee's antennas sense something, and her expression turns serious. She flies up and faces the entrance with a determined look. The black rabbit also prepares himself with his hammer, sensing the presence of an intruder. Sejun notices the movement and exclaims that someone is definitely there. The black warrior rabbit expresses his anger towards the intruder, and the intruder responds, asking everyone not to misunderstand him. He clarifies that he is not a shameless cat who came to steal their food. Sejun is taken aback by the fact that the intruder is a talking cat and wonders how that is possible. The black rabbit and the poison honeybee are ready to fight, while the other rabbits are frightened. Sejun asks the cat why he has come here, and the cat jumps down and lands in front of him. The cat is wearing a cape and carrying a small bag. He stands up and extends his paw for a handshake. The cat asks if Sejun is the customer Park Sejin and introduces himself as the traveling merchant Theo. But Sejun was confused to see a talking cat. The black warrior rabbit behind him remains suspicious of the cat. However, Sejun recalls hearing that sometimes people meet traveling merchants as they ascend the tower, but he wasn't expecting the merchant to be a cat. Sejun finds the cat merchant quite adorable, with his big, shiny eyes, soft and chubby cheeks, and the jelly-like paws of his outstretched hand. Sejun can't help but imagine those jelly paws kneading on him, and being a cat lover, he feels excited. As the cat merchant tries to talk with Sejun, he tries to act cool and confident in front of him. Sejun asks the merchant what he wants. Theo explains that he heard about a new rookie who made transactions in the seed store, and he is here to greet Sejun and make some deals with him. Sejun is curious about the deals and asks Theo for more information. Theo rummages inside his bag and begins to explain, but before he could show him anything, his stomach growls loudly, making him nervous. He apologizes to Seo-jun, admitting that he hadn't eaten anything that day, and that's why he ended up showing an embarrassing image to a customer. Theo nervously laughs about the silly incident while Seo-jun stares at him curiously. Suddenly, a mischievous grin appears on Seo-jun's face, hinting that he may have something up his sleeve, perhaps a plan to take advantage of the cat merchant. Seo-jun, with a bright smile, offers him a roasted fish. Seeing the fish, Theo was shocked that a loud mew came out of him. His eyes glisten, mouth drools, and ears twitch as he gazes at the delicious roasted fish. Seo-jun insists that Theo should not decline the offer, but Theo manages to control his hunger and tells Seo-jun that it's all right, as he cannot touch a customer's food. Seo-jun is slightly taken aback by Theo's response and tries to convince the cat merchant once again. He asks Theo if he really doesn't want to eat the fish, describing the irresistible smell of tender, grilled meat and emphasizing that it has the distinct fishy flavor that cats can't resist. Holding Theo's shoulder, Seo-jun insists that it's obvious Theo wants it and can have it. As Seo-jun persuades him further, Theo can't stop drooling, trying his best to resist but eventually giving in to temptation. He eats a lot and finally feels satisfied, expressing his fullness while happily laying down and holding a fish bone. Seo-jun tends to the fire, mentioning that it must have been really hungry since Theo devoured the fish. Theo sincerely thanks Seo-jun, feeling grateful for the treat and wondering how he can repay him. Seo-jun smiles, saying it was no big deal and that he should be the one thankful, considering that Theo came all the way to meet him. Then, as Theo was about to talk about the deal he mentioned earlier, Seo-jun suddenly asks him for 0.5 tower coins. Confused, Theo asks for clarification, and Seo-jun playfully replies with a smile, stating that he should pay for the roasted fish he just ate. Theo, panicked and in shock, asks Seo-jun if the fish was not for free. Seo-jun responds that nothing in this world is ever free, and since Theo came to make a deal, he shouldn't expect to eat the customer's fish and run away. Theo becomes nervous as he notices the black rabbit and the poison honeybee ready with their weapons, while even the farming rabbits stand prepared to confront Theo if he tries to leave without paying. With tears in his eyes, Theo reluctantly pays 0.5 tower coins to Seo-jun, and Seo-jun thanks him. Then we see the cat depressed, kneeling beside Seo-jun, and Seo-jun is happy as he finally earns some tower coins. Then we see the cat crying and thinking that he came to earn money from Seo-jun as a customer, but ended up paying him instead, and his business has already started at a loss. However, he regains control of his emotions and becomes determined not to be defeated. He decides that he will sell all his items here. Theo loudly declares that it's his turn now and requests that Seo-jun examine his items. He opens the cloth bag and unfurls it to display the luxury items he has. With pride, Theo showcases the 3 items on the cloth, each with its price displayed on an information window. The first item is a tumbler worth 5 tower coins, followed by a mini fan also worth 5 tower coins, and lastly, a portable hand warmer of the same value. Seeing the items, Seo-jun asks if these items are from outside the tower, and the cat proudly declares that they are. Theo starts describing the items, saying that the tumbler has preservation magic, which can maintain the temperature of the things kept inside, whether hot or cold. He then highlights the mini fan's wind magic enchantment, demonstrating how it gives cold wind by pressing the buttons. Seo-jun stares at Theo in disbelief and apologizes for interrupting him, but he feels compelled to tell him the truth about the items he is selling. Seo-jun explains that all the items Theo brought are actually trash. Upon hearing this, Theo became very angry. He shouted at Seo-jun and asked him what he was talking about. He insisted that these items were from outside the tower, and how could someone not recognize their value? He expressed how much effort it took him to collect these items. Seo-jun calmly explained to Theo that he is also someone who is from outside the tower, and the terrible truth dawned upon Theo as he realized he had been scammed. Seo-jun patiently explained that there is no magic in the items Theo was trying to sell. The tumbler simply prevents heat transfer by blocking contact with the outside, and the portable fan and hand warmer operate on batteries. If they are used for only a few hours, their batteries will run out. Seo-jun pressed the buttons on the fan, demonstrating its lack of power, leaving Theo feeling even more disheartened. Theo, now angry and frustrated, accused Seo-jun of lying. He insisted that the person who sold these items to him claimed they had magic inside. However, the fan was about to stop as the battery had run out, and Seo-jun pointed out this fact to Theo. Frustrated, Theo started hitting the fan in an attempt to get it working again, but Sejun reassured him that he had indeed been scammed by the person he purchased the items from. Theo sank into a more depressed state, unable to believe that someone could be so unkind to him. Then Theo started crying loudly, saying that Scarum was a bad goblin, and began beating the floor in frustration. Sejun felt bad for Theo and tried to comfort him, urging him to share what happened in the background. The sad cat merchant began his story. He explained that he was from the 75th floor of the tower, which was one of the tower's neutral zones. For a long time, he had been in love with a cat named Meryl, who was the most beautiful girl in their Grainer village. Finally, one day, he gathered the courage to propose to her in front of everyone. As the villagers cheered him on, Theo expressed his feelings to Meryl and asked her to date him. He even presented her with a bouquet of fish, something he thought she would appreciate. However, Meryl showed no interest and displayed her disgust at the modest bouquet Theo had offered her. She slapped it away, saying that the smell of cheap rice fish disgusted her. This hurt Theo deeply, as he had worked hard to get those roasted rice fish. But then another shock awaited him. Then someone stepped forward and told Theo to know his place, questioning how dare he try to win Meryl over. As Theo turned back, he saw Oren, the son of the richest cat in the village. Oren was well dressed and carried a big, beautiful fish as a gift. Oren laughed at Theo, mocking him for giving a low-grade rice fish to a lady. He suggested that Theo should have brought at least a high-quality salmon as a gift, and with that, Oren presented the salmon to Meryl. Meryl appeared happy upon seeing it. A flustered Theo stammered, trying to explain that Meryl didn't even like greasy food because she was afraid of gaining weight. However, Meryl spoke for herself and expressed that the fish was indeed beautiful. Shocked and heartbroken, Theo heard those words. Oren had his arm around Meryl and was taking her to his home to enjoy the salmon properly, and she seemed content to go with him. Theo desperately pleaded with Meryl to wait, grabbing her arm to stop her. From his perspective, it felt like a scene from a heartbreaking story. He saw himself as the protagonist, the poor but handsome cat, while the woman he loved was being swept away by a rich suitor. Theo poured out his heart, reminiscing about the moments they shared and the memories they made together. However, Meryl coldly dismissed his feelings, telling him not to get ahead of himself. She claimed that she had only smiled at him out of politeness, and that he had imagined a deeper connection. She cruelly stated that she despised poor cats who smelled like cheap rice fish the most, pointing directly at Theo. Devastated and speechless, Theo's world crumbled around him, sinking into a pit of despair. Meryl was taken away by Oren, the son of the richest cat in the town, and Theo ran away crying. He made the decision to leave his village and become a traveling merchant. Determined to become rich one day and seek revenge, he vowed to rise above his circumstances. As Theo finished telling Sejun and the rabbits the first part of his story, they felt nervous and sorry for him. Sejun especially felt guilty for scamming Theo. Theo explained that he had gone through the necessary procedures and spent his lifelong savings of 50 tower coins to obtain his traveling merchant license and other important documents. He had planned to use the remaining 5 tower coins to buy something from the peddler to resell. However, that was when he got scammed by Scarum. Theo recalled how Scarum, a goblin, approached him and asked if he was a new wandering merchant. Scarum told Theo his name and offered to provide him with information. Naively believing Scarum, Theo engaged in a conversation with him at the inn. Scarum talked about items from outside the tower, claiming they were precious and could fetch a high profit on the upper floors where creatures collected such things as a hobby. Theo wondered why Scarum was selling these valuable items at a low price, and Scarum replied that it was a goodwill gesture from a senior merchant training a junior. Convinced, Theo quickly bought the items, hoping to resell them at a higher price. Scarum even gave Theo a bonus, a piece of paper with a map indicating the location of a new user of the seed store. Scarum told Theo that he could potentially make a great profit from this new member. However, Theo soon realized that even that information was not a true bonus. He regretfully handed over all his remaining money to Scarum and purchased the items. With high expectations, he embarked on his journey while starving himself along the way, hoping to make a significant profit. But his hopes were dashed, and he barely ended up here. As Theo tells this to Sejun, he feels quite sad and starts rolling on the floor, crying. He laments that all the items turned out to be trash, and that the customer took his remaining money by tricking him with fish. He cries, expressing his frustration at not being good at anything. Sejun initially thinks that Theo is quite a pushover, but then he gets an idea. He remembers something that could help him earn tower coins. Sejun smiles and tells Theo to calm down, offering to share some roasted fish to cheer him up. However, Theo, having learned from his previous experience, suspects that Sejun will ask him to pay for the fish later. He refuses, stating that he's not foolish enough to fall for the same trick twice. Sejun assures him that he genuinely wants to give it to him for free, even considering the 5 fish Theo ate earlier as just a treat. Theo looks at Sejun with hopeful eyes, asking if he truly means it. But Sejun makes it clear that this act of kindness is not without conditions. He asks Theo if he would be willing to work with him in exchange. Sejun smiles and asks Theo for his thoughts. In that moment, Sejun adds one more chapter to his diary about getting lost in the tower. He met a partner today who was a bit of a pushover. Then we see Sejun asking Theo if he would like to work with him. Sejun believes that Theo will agree because he thinks Theo is just a pushover. Theo is shocked and asks Sejun if he really meant what he said. Did he genuinely want them to work together? Sejun confirms his intentions, expressing that he wants a good merchant to sell his items. However, Theo doesn't believe Sejun. With drooping ears, he considers himself a noob who is completely useless. But Sejun tells Theo that despite making mistakes, he still possesses some qualities of a decent merchant. Sejun smugly smiles and explains that Theo touched his heart with his story, which is why he wants to become business partners with him. Surprised, Theo awaits further details about the business partner deal. But before Sejun explains, he signals to the rabbits to show their hospitality to the merchant. The husband and wife rabbit pair create chairs from onion leaves and set up an umbrella, creating a beach-like atmosphere. They even wear garlands made from tomato flowers. Sejun, sipping from a bottle made of onion leaves, enjoys the moment. The rabbits fan them, providing a relaxing experience. Sejun then reiterates what Theo told him about his desperate situation, taking a deal from a shady merchant and being scammed. He explains that Theo doesn't have any money to buy goods to resell. Sejun excitedly proposes a business partnership, suggesting a win-win situation for both of them. Sejun offers to provide Theo with his products, which Theo can sell to other people. In return, Sejun would receive a percentage based on the amount Theo sells. Theo asks about the incentive, and Sejun explains that Theo would need to sell the goods above the marked price. The more Theo sells them for, the better the incentive would be. Sejun believes in Theo's ability to sell the items for a higher price and offers him a 35% incentive on the selling price. Meanwhile, the Black Rabbit tries to roast a fish. Theo is appalled by the offer, thinking the 35% incentive is too low. He believes the conditions are unfavorable for him. He angrily sips from his glass, thinking that Sejun took him for a fool. He refuses to be deceived. But before Theo can express his decision, Sejun has another important thing to tell him, the most crucial part. Sejun asks the rabbits to bring something, and we see them returning with a bunch of delicious roasted fish. Sejun reveals that there is not only a reward, but he will also pay Theo 10 fish or their equivalent value in coins every week. Theo is absolutely amazed by this offer. Sejun explains that these are all the terms and conditions of the contract. Theo's mouth starts watering as he asks Sejun if he was serious about the roasted fish. Sejun then asks if Theo wants to sign the contract right away. However, Theo is not easily convinced. He remembers the past incidents when he was betrayed by others like Merrill and Scarum. He knows he has to be clever to avoid being deceived again. But the temptation of the fish is hard to resist. Theo wipes the drool off his face and says he will consider it if Sejun offers him 20 fish per week instead. Sejun, with a mischievous grin on his face, remarks that Theo is quite persuasive. He tells Theo that he is feeling generous and, in addition to accepting his request, will add 5 more fish. Theo is shocked to see a stack of 25 grilled fish right in front of him and can't help but continue drooling. Then, Sejun adds another bonus to the contract. Theo can eat as much fish as he wants while he's working with Sejun. Sejun reiterates the terms one more time, and Theo can hardly believe his ears. He is filled with excitement, completely forgetting about any past doubts or concerns. Sejun asks if Theo has a piece of paper, and Theo quickly produces one. Sejun takes the paper, writes down the terms of the contract, and signs it as Party A. Theo places his paw on the paper, representing Party B. Sejun announces that the contract is now complete. Theo realizes that he was so thrilled that he didn't even realize he had signed the contract. He is astonished as the contract floats up into the air and disappears. The contract has been finalized and accepted by the tower as an agreement. An information window appeared, displaying all the details of the contract. The contract states that it is a lifetime distribution agreement starting immediately. Theo will be responsible for selling Sejun's products for the rest of his life and bringing back the profits. The compensation remains as mentioned earlier, 25 grilled fish per week, or their equivalent value in coins. along with an additional 3.5% of the sales as an incentive. The contract also includes some special clauses. As part of the initial deal, Sejun will provide Theo with his crops to sell. The contract will be terminated if the sales amount falls below 5 tower coins in 1 month. Theo is expected to sell the crops at a price above the marked price. He is also prohibited from making any additional contracts without Sejun's permission. Lastly, Theo must speak with a cat's accent while selling the items, adding a touch of uniqueness to the arrangement. Sejun was delighted to have the contract signed, recognizing its importance as one of the most significant documents in the tower, not easily destroyed. On the other hand, Theo felt devastated, questioning why he had agreed to such conditions in his first contract. Curiosity got the better of Theo, and he asked Sejun about the 4th condition in the special clauses, particularly the one about speaking with a cat accent. He found it embarrassing to use the accent from his village. Sejun chuckled and assured him that he would understand the reason when the time came. Sejun extended his hand for a handshake, but Theo slapped it away, still expressing his doubts. However, Sejun reminded him of the first condition in the special clauses, which stated that the contract would be terminated if the sales fell short. Sejun patted Theo's head, having faith in him as a reliable and resourceful merchant cat. Hearing himself being called resourceful brought a smile to Theo's face, and Sejun thought he was quite straightforward. Curiosity piqued, Theo inquired about the products they would be selling. Sejun confidently revealed that they would be selling cherry tomatoes. Theo looked puzzled, but Sejun handed him a freshly picked cherry tomato. To Theo's surprise, it turned out to be a magical cherry tomato that could temporarily increase MP, magic power, by 0.1 for 10 minutes. Theo asks Sejun about the selling price for the cherry tomatoes, curious to know how much they plan to sell them for. Theo thinks that if he's lucky, he might be able to get 0.01 tower coins per tomato from the new people entering the tower. However, Sejun replies that they want to sell them for 0.05 tower coins per piece. Theo is shocked to hear the price, believing that only an idiot would buy them at such a high cost. But then Theo realizes that the high price might actually work in his favor. If he fails to sell enough tomatoes to earn 5 tower coins in 1 month, his contract would be terminated. Additionally, he could enjoy grilled fish during that time. Curious about his initial sales trip, Theo asks Sejun how many tomatoes he should take with him. Sejun suggests taking 1,000 tomatoes. Sejun has already prepared a basket containing the 1,000 tomatoes and even arranged for the payment of 25 grilled fish. However, Sejun wonders how Theo plans to carry all of it. Theo reveals his special item called the Bundle, a cloth with space expansion magic, preservation magic, and the ability to make things lightweight. He explains that he can store all the items in his bundle, keeping them in their original state for extended periods of time. Theo throws the cloth over the tomatoes and fish, and with a touch of magic, they are stored inside the cloth, transforming it into a small pouch. Sejun exclaims how convenient it is. As Theo gets ready to leave, he assures Sejun that he will return. Sejun and his friends wave goodbye to Theo as he departs, wishing him the best of luck on his sales journey. A few days later, Theo arrived on the 38th floor of the tower, where an intense battle was taking place. A group of awakened individuals were locked in combat with a gigantic spider monster. The spider screeched loudly as the fighters strategized, determined to defeat it and prevent its escape. The spider launched its attacks at the hunters, but their leader skillfully blocked its assault with a sturdy shield. On the sidelines, the magicians cast fireball spells, diverting the spider's attention. Seizing the opportunity, their leader delivered a decisive strike, swiftly beheading the spider with a powerful blow. This leader was Kim Dong-shik, the esteemed leader of the Phoenix Guild. His team erupted in cheers, expressing their confidence in his ability to finish the battle with a single strike. However, Kim Dong-shik humbly downplayed the praise, urging everyone to remain focused on the aftermath. It was time to clean up the area and take care of the necessary tasks following the battle. He notices a woman named Jessica and sternly reminds her not to slack off, emphasizing that he won't tolerate any attempts to run away like she did last time. However, Jessica responds by playfully flirting with Dong-shik, expressing her affection for him. Dong-shik ponders how to handle the situation with Jessica, but his attention is suddenly captured by movement in the nearby bushes. Reacting swiftly, he switches into battle mode, drawing his sword and demanding to know who is lurking there. there. To his surprise, it turns out to be Theo emerging from the bushes. Theo confidently approaches the group and offers to showcase his merchandise. Dong-shik and his team are taken aback by the sight of a cat functioning as a traveling merchant. As Theo greets them, some of the members comment on his cuteness, leaving Theo astonished. One of them even admires his adorable paws. Sejun had told Theo that using the accent from his village would help attract human attention, and now Theo realizes that it indeed worked. He takes out the cherry tomatoes from his bag and presents them as his offering. However, the humans seem underwhelmed by the sight of the cherry tomatoes. They express their disappointment, stating that if Theo intended to sell food in the midst of a battle, he should have brought something more substantial like meat or bread. Cherry tomatoes simply weren't satisfying enough to eat during such intense circumstances. Observing their skepticism, Theo couldn't help but mutter, "Foolish humans. I knew they would say that." He firmly believed that the magic of the cherry tomato surpassed their expectations. He suggested they check the status window for confirmation, recalling that a girl with pink hair had done so earlier. According to her findings, consuming just 10 g of the cherry tomato would result in permanent fat reduction. Upon hearing this revelation, a wave of fervor swept through the group, and they immediately rushed towards Theo, eager to purchase the coveted cherry tomatoes. Meanwhile, back at the cave, Sejun continues to harvest more tomatoes. He has just leveled up, earning a bonus stat. The wife rabbit accompanies him, and he asks her if Theo is doing well at the moment. Sejun speculates that the cat must have already encountered some hunters by now. At first glance, the magical cherry tomatoes seem to primarily boost magical power. However, upon closer examination, it became evident that they offered an even greater benefit. Consuming a tomato would dissolve 10 grams of fat and rejuvenate the body. Sejun realizes that these tomatoes are the perfect diet food, without any apparent side effects. He firmly believes that they will sell a significant amount, as he trusts that people are in need of effective diet solutions. Theo, on the other hand, is astonished to see that he has managed to sell all the cherry tomatoes. He is unsure how to react to this overwhelming success. Sejun stares at the sprouted carrot seedlings, lost in thought. He inquires, was it about 70%? And the husband rabbit standing beside him seems to agree that out of the 1,000 carrot seeds Sejun had purchased from the seed store and subsequently planted, only 700 had germinated. However, he starts pondering the possible reasons for the observed germination limitation. He wonders if the cause could be his low proficiency level as a farmer, or perhaps the fertility of the cave land was insufficient. Despite these considerations, Sejun decides to persevere with his current methods, optimistic about the prospect of finding a more effective cultivation strategy later. With Theo now on their side, ready to sell the harvest, he recognizes the importance of maximizing crop yield. The husband rabbit seems to be in agreement with him. Suddenly, Sejun's attention is diverted. He turns back to identify the source of the disturbance. He observes the black warrior rabbit tossing a torch up into the air by the lake. As the torch nears the water's surface, piranhas leap out. The black rabbit was anticipating this, springing towards the fish and striking each one with his hammer. Safely landing on his 2 feet, he catches the falling torch. Everyone watches in awe as he skillfully hunts. Sejun compliments the black rabbit, stating he's improved significantly in his hunting skills. Noticing the rabbit's body gleaming, Sejun realizes the black rabbit is leveling up. He congratulates him, expressing this was the first time he has witnessed such an event. While he had frequently observed the white farming rabbits level up during farming, seeing a black rabbit do so was a rare occurrence. He pats the rabbit's head and reassures him he is gradually becoming a true hunter. The rabbit, pleased with himself, flaunts his achievement before his clapping siblings. As the rabbits play, Sejun suggests they take a short break. During this intermission, he proposes they drink coffee. Sejun, clutching the tumbler he had received from Theo, appears delighted. Upon opening it, his suspicions about the presence of coffee inside are confirmed. Stuffed inside the tumbler are multiple sachets of coffee, much to Sejun's delight. He believes that Theo and Scarum, the goblin who scammed him, had omitted something very important. They hadn't opened the tumbler. If Theo had known and tried to sell the coffee to him, Sejun admits he would have spent all his money just to acquire it. Tearing open a packet, Sejun can't help but thank them for their oversight. Because of their ignorance, he's acquired a valuable item for free. Sejun empties the coffee powder into his water bottle. Even though they lack the tools to boil water or make ice cubes, he comments that simply having coffee in this place is a luxury. While he can't make regular coffee or iced Americano, At least he has coffee. Sejun then convinces the poison honeybee to spit some honey into the water bottle, thanking her. After a bit of mixing, he finally creates his coffee. Sejun christens this concoction as Honey Americano, a blend of coffee powder dissolved in the cave's cool water and mixed with the poison honeybee's thick honey. He praises it as a perfect harmony of bitter and sweet tastes. According to Sejun, a single sip of this drink can alleviate fatigue and hunger. Upon taking a hearty sip, he finds it to be quite delicious. He then offers the coffee to his rabbit companions. The black rabbit is the first to try it, but is immediately overwhelmed by the bitterness and too stunned to react. The other rabbits, curious about the taste, also find the drink too bitter for their liking. Sejun just laughs as the rabbits spit out the coffee, suggesting that their tongues might be more sensitive to bitter tastes than humans. However, he then notices something unexpected. He spots the honeybee flying towards a hive inside the cave. When Sejun calls out to her, the bee excitedly shows him her hive. He asks her if it's really a beehive, and the realization hits him a moment later. The poison honeybee is finally moving in with them. He asks for confirmation, which she provides. Sejun and the rabbits are delighted by the news. Sejun mentions how saddening it was when she had to return home each night. Now he finally feels that they are a family. On this joyous occasion, Sejun wants to throw a party, but suddenly he receives a message from the tower manager. It's a quest asking for 10 magical cherry tomatoes. While there's no reward for completing this quest, the penalty for refusal is disappointment. Sejun is taken aback by this new type of quest. He speculates that because he kept postponing the quests, the tower manager might have realized something after witnessing his deal with Theo. Sejun snickers, thinking that the tower manager isn't threatening him anymore, but instead making a rather pitiful request. Feeling somewhat sorry for the manager, Sejun decides to give some of his tomatoes to fulfill the quest. He hands over the tomatoes and the tower master gratefully accepts them, even thanking Sejun. Taken aback, Sejun smugly states that it was satisfying to see the manager express gratitude, but he suddenly realizes he acted submissively just now. Upon recognizing this, V becomes dejected, and he doesn't notice the husband rabbit sipping coffee calmly behind him. Elsewhere, in another floor of the tower, a goblin sets a drink on the table. The goblin is revealed to be Scarum, the one who scammed Theo. Scarum is irritated that the pushover cat hasn't returned yet, and his friend asks if he's referring to Theo, who purchased his items last time. Another friend admires Scarum's cunning for selling low-quality items by deceiving the cat and expresses a desire to learn similar tricks. One of them then asks Scarum why he's looking for Theo. Scarum begins to explain his reasons. He says that the cat spent all his money to buy items from him, and he's worried because the cat hasn't returned, even after a considerable amount of time. He argues that by now Theo should be back to complain that he couldn't sell the items. His friend asks him if he's genuinely worried, and what he would do if Theo did return. Scarum replies that, as a good guy, he wouldn't be able to pretend not to see Theo. He would buy the cat a glass of milk, inform him about a big opportunity, and then lend him some money to take advantage of the opportunity. The other goblins are surprised, but then Scarum discloses his true plan. He mentions that the poor cat would have to work very hard to repay the loan he would take from him at a high interest rate. He predicts that Theo will be unable to repay the debt or the ever-increasing interests. Then, Scarum makes a menacing expression, stating that Theo would become his slave until his death. In the end, the other goblins praise Scarum as a genius. One of them suggests that he should find Theo as soon as possible, as it's not easy to find such a pushover. But Scarum laughs confidently, replying that they still have plenty of time. He advises his friends not to chase their prey recklessly, impressing the other goblins with his carefree attitude. Scarum then suggests that they should check today's wandering merchant sales ranking. The other goblin also comments that it's about time for it to be updated. They open the information windows in front of them, which display the ranks of wandering merchants according to their sales. Scarum sees that he has reached the 999th rank and is pleased to finally make it into the top 1,000. His friends are amazed to see him in the top 1,000 as they aren't even ranked yet. Scarum laughs inwardly, believing that it was worth selling those items to the naive cat. But what he saw next left him bewildered. He saw Theo ranked 982nd, and the other goblins began whispering, "Isn't that the cat we were just talking about?" Suddenly, Scarum screamed and slammed his hand on the table, demanding to know how Theo had achieved such a high rank in such a short time. The scene then shifted, revealing Theo's return to Sejun. Sejun shouted at Theo, asking where he had been for so many days. Theo, with a panicked expression, apologized and promised that even if he sold out next time, he wouldn't play on other floors. Sejun, shocked, asked for how many days Theo had been playing, to which Theo replied, 4 days. But Sejun is surprised by something else. He'd assumed that it would take a few days to sell everything, but Theo returned to the cave within 14 days. Considering the 10-day trip and 4 days of playing around, Sejun realizes that Theo must have sold out as soon as he reached the 30th floor. Sejun places his hand on Theo's shoulder, making a scary and menacing face. He tells Theo to reveal all the details if he doesn't want to see Sejun's wrathful side. The cat is too terrified to do anything else, so he tells Sejun and the rabbits everything that happened. Sejun asks if the hunters really bought everything after just a little bit of talking. He's in disbelief, but Theo exclaims that it was exactly as he said. He hands over the bag containing 50 tower coins to Sejun, who verifies them properly. He then addresses Theo as the cat merchant employee, commending his good work. Sejun also gives him his incentive, 2 tower coins. But Theo is shocked, asking Sejun if he wasn't the resourceful sales cat, Theo. Sejun coldly tells him that he's been demoted. He critiques Theo's salesmanship, pointing out that it took him 4 days to return after selling out. But then, Sejun adds that if Theo works hard the next time, his position as the sales cat will be reinstated, and he will raise the incentive to 5%. Theo says that he understands, and promises to work hard to become a salesperson. Then Sejun asks Theo why he's always talking in his cat accent now. Theo says that he has decided to live this way since humans seem to like this side of him. Sejun laughs, saying that everyone will soon know his name. When Theo asks him what he means, Sejun explains that the farmer's name is displayed on the status window of the cherry tomato. That's why people will soon recognize him as the person who cultivated the magical cherry tomato. These words scare Theo enough to make his hair stand on end. He suddenly realizes that he's in trouble. There's a system in the tower that hides the origin of goods beginner wandering merchants sell, protecting them from wealthy traveling merchants who might steal their suppliers. And because Theo is still a beginner wandering merchant, Sejun's name was forcibly hidden from the cherry tomato's status window. Theo worries that Sejun will be furious when he learns the truth. He fears that he might be demoted from his post as an employee to an intern, or he might even become a part-timer. Theo is scared, and when Sejun asks him what he's thinking, Theo plays it off, saying nothing is wrong. He asks Sejun to hand him the cherry tomatoes so he can go sell them right away. Sejun tells him it's too soon, and that Theo should rest for a few days. He also needs to receive his weekly payment. But Theo, eager to sell more tomatoes, insists that he should work as everyone else is busy. Theo rushes to the rabbit carrying harvested tomatoes and starts putting them into his bundle, shocking the rabbit. His reason for this is to remove the restriction on displaying the cultivator's name from the status window of the goods. And there's only one way to do that, is to earn 1,000 tower coins and become a mid-level merchant. The scene then shifts to a large building on Earth, where a group of people are gathered. Upon closer inspection, it turns out they are the adventurers of the tower from the Phoenix Guild, the same group to whom Theo sold the magical cherry tomatoes. One man is trying to convince his friends of something, but they are skeptical, claiming what he tells them is impossible. As they continue their conversation, the leader of the Phoenix Guild, Kim Dong-shik, receives a call on his smartphone. It's a message from his daughter, telling him how effective the cherry tomatoes he brought for her were. Her friends were envious, and now she wanted more. The message asks her father to buy more for his darling daughter. Touched by his daughter's words, Dong-shik is moved to tears. The man next to Dong-shik asks what's wrong, and in response, Dong-shik shares his daughter's story. She usually grumbled about everything due to her struggles with her diet, but today, she was happy and expressed her love for him. He then confesses that he only bought 20 pieces of the cherry tomatoes the last time, leaving the rest for his teammates. He hadn't anticipated his daughter would love them so much. Otherwise, he would have bought all of them. Another man asks if he's referring to the cherry tomatoes sold by the wandering cat, wondering why the girls are so obsessed with them. However, another man testifies about the charm of the cherry tomatoes. He had been seeing a girl and gifted her the cherry tomatoes, which apparently boosted their relationship significantly. His friends are shocked and can barely believe his story. One of them mentions that he also bought the cherry tomatoes and still has some left. Two others immediately enter a bidding war for the miracle fruits, each wanting to purchase the remaining fruits. One even offers to buy each fruit for 100,000 won. However, Dong-shik interrupts them, insisting they can't continue like this. He orders his men to summon the rest of the team. They're going to the 38th floor right away. Although Dongshik is serious, his underlings are confused. They argue that it hasn't been long since their last expedition, and that launching another one would incite complaints from many people. Just as they are voicing their concerns, the female members of the team enter the room declaring they are ready to go. The male members look around to see Jessica and the other girls eager to embark. They're dressed to accentuate their slim waists, striking poses to emphasize their weight loss. One girl admits they've already prepared the tower coins to buy cherry tomatoes, though she corrects herself to say they've collected coins for the expedition. Jessica makes a similar slip. With this affirmation, Dongshik commands his team to follow his lead. The boys are eager to embark on the expedition, and the girls are equally excited about acquiring the cherry tomatoes. As Dongshik leads his group, he resolves to secure the magical cherry tomatoes and become a great dad, no matter what it takes. Next, the scene shifts inside the tower, where Theo is navigating the middle levels, contemplating when he will reach his sales target of 1,000 tower coins. He looks rather disheartened and tired. Theo notes that he can only store 150 cherry tomatoes in his bundle, and even if he sells out completely, he will have to travel back and forth more than 10 times to reach his goal. Theo decides to set aside these complex thoughts for now and concentrate on maximizing his earnings. He is currently on the 38th floor, the same spot where he encountered the human party last time. Theo wonders if this was the place where the humans had gathered previously. He scans the area for them, but instead, they find him first. They spot him and excitedly alert their comrades about the wandering merchant cat. Surprised, Theo asks the man in front of him if they are looking for him. The man confirms this and adds that they've been waiting for him on this floor for the past 3 days, unsure when he might return. He inquires if Theo has the magic cherry tomatoes with him again. Theo is taken aback as the man explains they've braved the dangerous area for 3 days just to buy the cherry tomatoes. The man asks Theo if the price of the cherry tomatoes is still 0.05 tower coins per piece. However, seeing the opportunity to earn more, Theo promptly informs the man that the price of the tomatoes has increased. Upon hearing about the price hike, the man is shocked, and his reaction draws Dongshik's attention. Dongshik approaches and asks about the new price. Theo informs him that it's now 0.07 tower coins per tomato. Despite his calm exterior, Theo feels nervous inside, wondering if he's raised the price too much. To his relief, Dongshik is undeterred by the new price and expresses his desire to buy 200 fruits, dropping a pouch of tower coins before Theo. Even the other team members deem the price to be fair, arguing that such a valuable item shouldn't be sold cheaply. They also express their fear of missing out on the opportunity to purchase the cherry tomatoes, as they have no idea when they'll next be available. They then begin placing their orders. Soon enough, Theo sells out once again. He is pleased, yet surprised at the ease with which he sold everything. His basket is empty, and in front of him are pouches full of tower coins. Despite the increase in price, all 150 cherry tomatoes were sold out in a flash. Dongshik asks Theo when he will appear again. Theo inquires if Dongshik would wait for him in the same place, adding that if that's the case, he could return in about 10 days. Dongshik is pleasantly surprised by this response, commenting that 10 days is a perfectly reasonable time to regroup after completing a quest. He assures Theo they'll return to buy more cherry tomatoes in 10 days. Following this exchange, Dongshik instructs his team to prepare, stating they will now finish the spider quest and make their way out of the tower. The team members are ready for action. Theo, on the other hand, chuckles inwardly, realizing he has found regular customers. Gathering 1,000 tower coins and becoming a mid-level merchant now seems within reach. His plan is to reveal Sejun as his vendor after amassing the coins and reclaim his title as the sales cat. Just as Theo is about to leave, a group of excited girls interrupts him, calling him Mr. Cat. Curious about their intentions, Theo listens as the girls chatter among themselves. One of them remarks that they look really similar, which another girl agrees with. Theo, however, interrupts them to clarify that his name is not Mr. Cat, but Theo. The girl in front apologizes and introduces herself as Suha. Theo then asks her what she meant by them looking alike, and Suha responds that Theo resembles a cat she knows. Theo tells her she must be mistaken and claims he's the only handsome cat in the world. He turns to leave, stating he's busy, but Suha frantically searches through her purse and asks him to wait a moment. She pulls out a long red packet from her purse, and Theo wonders what it is. Suha asks if he'd like to eat churu, a famous Korean cat snack. As he opens his mouth to take a bite, Theo asks what churu is. mentioning he usually only eats grilled fish. He cuts himself off mid-sentence, overwhelmed by the deliciousness of the snack. He holds it in his hands and can't stop licking it while asking what flavor he's eating. Although it smells like fish, it has a nutty taste and melts in his mouth. Having quickly finished the packet, Theo asks Suha if she has more. She reveals she has other flavors, and he excitedly asks her to give him more. Suha agrees on the condition that he take a photo with her. Unaware of what a photograph is, Theo readily accepts the proposal in exchange for all the churu packets. Suha takes out her smartphone, instructs Theo to look at the screen and say, "Peace," and they pose for the photo. Theo leaves happily, licking the churu packets, while Suha waves him goodbye. Her friends are surprised, noting it's the first time they've seen someone bring cat snacks inside the tower. They ask Suha if she found Theo cuter than expected. Another girl mentions it's nice to see Suha smiling so brightly and asks if she'll return to see Theo next time. Suha smiles as she looks at the picture she clicked with Theo and says that she will surely come again. Now we are transported to the scene of Sejun's cave. The black warrior rabbit is in the water and Sejun is encouraging him, giving him special swimming training. Other rabbits are also watching the black rabbit from the sidelines. Sejun instructs the rabbit to relax his body and extend the floating tube made from green onion leaves forward. The rabbit follows his instructions, and Sejun commends him for doing a good job. For safety reasons, Sejun explains, he's temporarily blocked the holes from which the piranhas come. Even though he's checked the effectiveness of his block a few times, he admits he's still nervous. The black rabbit has become good enough, and now Sejun wants him to practice swimming without his floating tube. Sejun notes that this is a significant development compared to the time when the black rabbit almost died from jumping into the water in excitement after leveling up. Sejun was astonished, fearing the rabbit was going to be eaten by piranhas. Sejun recalls the terrifying scene, the black rabbit floating on his belly in the pond, unconscious, and Sejun panicking. The mother rabbit was so frightened for her child that she fainted, but fortunately the piranhas did not attack. Sejun says that just thinking about that incident makes his heart skip a beat, and the black rabbit nervously laughs. With the black rabbit out of the water now, his siblings are taking turns learning to swim. Sejun, tired after playing in the water, expresses his desire to eat something sweet. He reaches into his bag to find his stash of honey, only to discover that the bottle is empty. Sejun has already consumed all the honey he collected last time. Thinking about the honey, Sejun is reminded of the poison honeybee who hasn't emerged from her hive since setting it up in the cave a few days ago. Sejun wonders if something happened, but then he sees something that shocks him. Around the hive, there are numerous small poison honeybees. Sejun reads their information window, stating that they're the offspring of the poison honeybee. Sejun is surprised. It's been a long time since he last checked on the honeybee, and now there are so many children around the nest. Sejun wonders if all these babies are the offspring of the honeybee he knows. He hadn't even noticed them before today. After some thought, Sejun decides that since he hasn't seen the bee for a while and because she now has kids, he needs to congratulate her. Glancing at his tomato fields, Sejun declares that he can't visit her without a gift. He then takes the only gift he can afford in this place, tomato flowers. However, the baby poison bees grow curious when they see Sejun approach their nest. Sejun calls out the honeybee and asks if she could come out for a moment. He's holding a bouquet of tomato flowers in his hand, and 2 rabbits are with him. Sejun explains that he has a housewarming gift for her, but then he suddenly notices that the baby bees look aggressive. Their eyes are glowing red, and they're angrily flying towards Sejun. The farmer rabbits flee when they see the bees approaching them. Sejun is taken aback, and the black rabbit summons his hammer to fight against them. Sejun questions the bees about their intentions, urging them not to proceed with whatever they're planning, as they are not enemies. As he speaks, someone inside the hive appears to be listening to him. The baby bees look menacing and threatening, and the black warrior rabbit is prepared to battle them. Sejun instructs him not to fight the bees, but he recognizes that it may be the only way to protect themselves. The bees, enraged, charge at Sejun. He closes his eyes, anticipating their stings. But then the baby bees abruptly halt. Sejun opens his eyes and spots a creature he doesn't recognize. A large bee-like figure with a crown on her head is flying toward him. Sejun, taken aback, questions whether she could possibly be the poison honeybee he knows. A creature that resembles an anthropomorphized honeybee, encircled by the baby bees that are indeed her offspring, responds to Sejun's query in her own language. Sejun can read her information window. She's a poisonous queen honeybee. Sejun can only gawk at her, mouth agape, and the reaction from the black warrior rabbit is the same. Sejun wonders if she could truly be the honeybee he knows. The scene changes, and we see the tower manager looking very nervous, with sweat sparkling on her face. She was carefully reading a book called Ultimate Guide for Tower Managers. In the book, it said that poison honeybees were not your usual insects, but scary monsters who hunted other creatures for food. But there was no information about a poison honeybee being friendly with a human, or even transforming into a human-like creature. She shook her head, puzzled, thinking, then why is this poison bee behaving like this? She then turned to look at her crystal ball. In it, she could see Sejun and the honeybee staring each other. She decided she would watch them closely for now and would ask her wise grandpa later about this weird thing happening. Back at the scene, Sejun was really surprised. The poison honeybee had transformed into a gorgeous humanoid bee, and even the black rabbit was stunned. He was so shocked that his warhammer slipped from his paws, his mouth hanging open in surprise. Sejun, pointing at the bee, asked, "Are you the same little poison honeybee?" The bee gave him a big, cheerful smile and nodded. Listening to this, everyone's eyes widened even more. They couldn't believe what they were seeing. The black rabbit, with his mouth open from the start, made his mouth even bigger. Sejun, still stunned, whispered, "You have changed so much." In response, the human-like poison bee posed cutely. She bent one of her legs, put her hand near her mouth, and then, with a mischievous sparkle in her eye, winked at Sejun. Then the story about how the little bee became like this begins. After the day the little bee first drank nectar from Sejun's cave, she started experienced sudden changes in her body. With each sip of the nectar she drank, these changes grew more noticeable. Her body emitted a strong scent that made other bees uncomfortable, and she also gained a significant amount of weight. Even the queen bee of her colony became wary and began acting aggressively towards her. It didn't take long for the little bee to realize why everyone was treating her differently. She had developed the ability to lay eggs. Although this discovery surprised her, she saw it as an opportunity to become independent. Leaving her old hive behind, she decided to create a new one inside Sejun's cave, as she believed it to be the safest place. Within her new hive, the bee silently endured the pain for many days. Finally, after several rounds of transformations, she evolved into the human-like form we see now. She herself was taken aback by her appearance after the final transformation, realizing she had become a queen bee. Returning to the present, Sejun, with a smile on his face, congratulates the bee on becoming a queen. He acknowledges that the timing might be a little awkward, but he has brought a gift for her. As Sejun presents her with a bouquet of tomato flowers, the queen bee is deeply moved. She gazes at the flowers and her eyes shimmer with delight. Overwhelmed with happiness, she dashes towards Sejun and tightly hugs him, beginning to rub her cheeks against his, just as she used to do when she was little, while the other bees watch in curiosity. Then, after seeing their mom being so friendly with the Sejun, the baby bees thought they should do the same, and they flew up to him, cuddled up, and started to make him their new friend. At first, Sejun was taken aback, but soon he got used to it. The baby bees also started being nice to the rabbits. While the queen bee was still hugging him, Sejun gently patted her head and told her that he liked them too. A few days passed since this strange thing happened. We see Sejun sleeping deeply, but the black rabbit tries to wake up Sejun by attempting to remove his onion blanket, while the husband and wife rabbits shout from a distance. Still half asleep, Sejun's eyes slowly open, and he finds the baby rabbits holding his hand, trying to lead him somewhere. The husband rabbit, with an excited expression, points towards something, a blue carrot. It seems that the blue moon has passed, while Sejun slept through the night this time. Upon witnessing this, Sejun drowsily gets up, as he and all the other rabbits gather around the magical blue carrot. He comments that he thought the blue moon wouldn't affect the crops this time since they were still small. However, it appears that it did. Nonetheless, he sees it as a great opportunity to harvest it early. As the rabbits excitedly stare at the carrot, Sejun realizes that this is why they disturbed his sleep and rushed him. Determined, he decides to harvest the carrot, pulling it out from the ground. The husband rabbit can't contain his excitement and starts jumping around joyfully. Sejun firmly grasps the carrot and pulls it with all his strength, instantly yanking it out of the ground. A bright smile lights up his face, and the rabbits stand there in awe, their mouths wide open with excitement. The carrot was a decent size. When Sejun checked its information, he found out it was a magical carrot called an agility carrot. The blue moon had given the carrot a special power. Anyone who ate this carrot would permanently boost the agility stats by 0.05. Sejun enters a deep thought, realizing that the carrot has an E+ rank, and he received 70 experience points instead of the usual 50 for harvesting it. His proficiency with his level 2 skill harvest also improved significantly. Then, after a while of thinking, he sat down with the rabbits and told them that he didn't deserve the carrot. They were the ones who worked hard to grow it. He gave them the magical carrot. Upon hearing this, the rabbits became very happy, and Sejun thanked them for their help and asked them to keep helping him in the future. Then we see the white rabbit holding the magic carrot, while the mommy rabbit and the black rabbit stare at it, their eyes twinkling. Suddenly, one of the baby rabbits with a sickle offers to split the carrot for everyone. The husband rabbit throws the carrot into the air, and with a swift move, she starts chopping it into 7 equal parts. The other baby rabbits watch with drooling mouths wide open in anticipation. As the sickle rabbit lands back on the ground, the equal portions of carrot fall into each rabbit's hands. Seeing this, Sejun compliments the sickle rabbit's skill, and she proudly stands with a victorious pose, holding a piece of carrot while the other rabbits applaud for her. Then we see the sickle rabbit happily enjoys her portion of carrot, savoring each bite. However, the black rabbit pouts, feeling that his piece is smaller than the others. Next, Sejun proceeds to harvest the cherry tomatoes that have been blessed with the energy of the blue moon. He gently places the 5 tomatoes in a tray made of onion leaves, remembering that the tower manager had given him a quest to offer a blue cherry tomato. This seems to be the perfect opportunity to fulfill the quest. When he called the tower manager, the blue magic tomato vanishes from Sejun's hand, indicating that the quest has been completed. The manager accepts the tomato and expresses gratitude towards Sejun. Sejun then suggested that if the manager was really grateful, she should give him a special skill as a reward. The tower manager said she would think about it and give him something later. But Sejun was curious about what she meant by thinking about it. Just as he was about to ask more, he was interrupted by a loud yell from Theo. Seeing Theo, Sejun got excited and called out his name, but he saw Theo was surrounded by the baby poison bees who looked like they were ready to attack. Theo was standing still, his claws open, looking very scared. The black rabbit was just watching without doing anything. Theo asked Sejun to tell the bees not to hurt him. Sejun then realized that Theo wasn't there when the poison honeybees hatched. That's why they didn't recognize him, and he wondered if the bees saw him as a threat. Then Theo started acting like a scared cat, puffing up his tail and hissing at the bees, while the bees, with fear in their red eyes, were preparing to attack. To solve the problem, Sejun picked up Theo and started rubbing cheeks with him, trying to show that Theo wasn't an enemy but a part of their family. While Sejun continued rubbing his cheeks, Theo complained that it tickled. Then, seeing this, the baby honeybees decided Theo was their friend too, and they all calmed down and moved away. But then, Sejun sneezed because some of Theo's fur had gotten into his nose. Then, Theo thanked Sejun for saving him and started calling him brother. Surprised, Sejun pulled on Theo's cheek. He asked why Theo was calling him brother all of a sudden. Sejun joked that he was the boss and Theo was the worker. They weren't the same. Theo, cheeks stretched by Sejun's playful gesture, explains that Sejun had mentioned they were family. However, he apologizes for getting ahead of himself and admits that his cheek hurts now. Sejun lets go of his cheek and then gets down to business. With a serious expression, Sejun stretches his hand and asks Theo, referring to him as an employee, to show him the money earned from the sale of cherry tomatoes so they can begin the calculations. Theo, still rubbing his sore cheek, hands Sejun a swollen pouch. When Sejun opens the pouch, he is surprised to find it filled with tower coins. After counting them, he concludes that there are 75 tower coins. Sejun compliments Theo for working hard, acknowledging his efforts. But Theo has another surprise in store. With a proud face, he excitedly shows Sejun another pouch and proudly announces with a bright smile that the people had been waiting to buy the cherry tomatoes for a long time. He charged the humans an extra 0.02 tower coins for the cherry tomatoes, and they still bought them. Then, Sejun looked into the second bag with a serious face. Theo eagerly asked if he was surprised. He proudly said he knew he did a good job and asked if he could now be called Sales Cat Theo. However, without directly answering that question, Sejun hands Theo his incentive. He said Theo had worked hard, so here was a bonus. He gave Theo 2 tower coins and called him employee again, but this time with a smile on his face. Theo, feeling sad, asks Sejun if he can be given another title since he has worked so hard. He wonders why he cannot be granted the title of salesman cat. Sejun gently explains to him that he is still far from reaching that position and would need to work even harder to achieve it. Listening to this, Theo becomes disheartened, and the black warrior rabbit offers comfort by rubbing his back. Theo vents his frustrations, expressing how difficult it was to become a sales cat. Then we see Sejun was secretly smiling, thinking something. He already knows that Theo sold the tomatoes at a higher price, thanks to the tower manager's intervention. The tower manager had been spying on Theo and provided Sejun with information about the cat merchant making more money per piece of cherry tomato. Sejun smirks, realizing that he should reward the tower manager with another blue moon fruit for such valuable intel. However, Sejun's attention is diverted by slurping sounds. He turns to find Theo sitting contentedly, holding a cat treat and slurping it with delight. Theo looks extremely happy and satisfied. Intrigued, Sejun asks Theo what he is eating. Theo replies that it's called a churu. Sejun is surprised and asks where Theo got the churu from. To his surprise, a baby rabbit behind him also starts slurping on a churu. Theo proudly shows Sejun a bag full of cat treats, explaining that he received them from a human after taking a picture with them. He continues to share that the cat treat he is currently enjoying has the taste of chicken, but the ones that tasted like salmon were his favorite. Seeing this, Sejun was really surprised. He thought about what Theo said. A human had given those snacks to him. There were only two ways to bring items from outside the tower. The first was vanishing, the method Sejun used to enter the tower. When newcomers entered this way, they brought whatever they were carrying with them inside. Since they were initially summoned to the first floor, the items they brought were mostly used for trade, helping them progress through the tower. The second way to bring things inside was when an awakened hunter brought something in. It was known that only 1 kilogram of outside material could be brought inside the tower, but there were no restrictions on the amount they could take when leaving the tower. Usually, hunters brought along essential items such as a hunter's smartphone, also known as a hunter phone. It was a device that could be charged using solar power, which was abundant in the tower's ever-sunny environment. Though it had basic features, it was a dependable tool and a necessity for all hunters. Sometimes, they would also bring things like cigarettes and instant foods, which they could eat while they were trying to get higher in the tower. But to bring something like cat snacks, which they didn't really need, seemed like a fancy thing to do. As Sejun thought about why a hunter would bring cat snacks, before he can finish his thought, a great idea crosses his mind. He gives off a wicked and twisted smile, thinking that he is a genius. Meanwhile, Theo, observing Sejun smiling maniacally to himself, wonders if Sejun wants some of his churu. Nervously, Theo stretches out his hand and asks Sejun if he would like to have some. Then we see Sejun giving an annoyed look to Theo, and he swiftly snatches the churu from Theo, declaring that he is confiscating it. As a result, Theo falls onto his butt from the sudden force. Theo, determined to retrieve his churu, grabs and pulls Sejun's shirt, pleading for it back. He explains that he earned it after taking a picture with the human girl, and Sejun replied with anger, "That's exactly the problem. You made a deal with that human girl for a photo," and with an angry expression, asks Theo to stop pulling his shirt, as it may tear. Sejun explains that he only has 1 pair of these t-shirts. With tears in his eyes and still gripping Sejun's shirt, Theo listens as Sejun explains that in condition number 3, it clearly stated that Theo was not allowed to make any deals with others without Sejun's permission. Sejun points out that Theo's actions have breached the contract. Theo becomes nervous and scared, realizing his mistake, and expresses that he didn't realize it and did it unintentionally. However, Sejun, speaking in a calm voice and wearing a smile, pats Theo's head. He addresses Theo as Sal's cat Theo, telling him not to be disappointed. Sejun advises Theo to forget about this incident and focus on finding new clients instead. Hearing this, Theo expresses surprise and asks if he has been promoted from an employee to a sales cat. Sejun clarifies that he is granting Theo this position temporarily for a few hours. If Theo performs well during this time, he may have the opportunity to become the sales cat permanently. Upon hearing this, Theo's face lights up with joy and excitement. He energetically raises both his paws upwards in celebration. Sejun, filled with a sense of affection and playfulness, scoops up Theo in his arms, holding him gently like a newborn baby. Sejun then places Theo on his lap, cradling him in his arms with care. He asks Theo if he enjoys the warmth of the fire. Meanwhile, one rabbit begins to fan Theo with a fan made of onion leaves, while another rabbit holds a piranha and approaches the sickle rabbit. The sickle rabbit skillfully chops down the piranhas, and the husband rabbit wraps the chopped fish onto onion leaf. Next, Sejun gently places Theo down on his lap and opens a packet of churu with a warm smile on his face. He assures Theo that he can relax now and enjoy the churu. Theo eagerly watches as Sejun tears open the churu packet. Sejun personally starts feeding Theo, gently patting his head with affection. The rabbit with the fan watches the scene unfold, smiling at the heartwarming moment. As Theo happily enjoys the churu, he wonders if being a sales cat allows for these special privileges. Sejun then addresses Theo as Sir Sales Cat and asks if he is enjoying the churu. Theo replies with a happy face and extended arm, expressing his delight and mentioning his desire to eat grilled fish as well. As we see Theo sitting on onion leaves, happily enjoying his churu, Sejun starts grilling some piranhas, assuring Theo that the fish will be ready in just a minute. Sejun once again addresses Theo as Sir Sales Cat. Curiously, Sejun turns around and asks Theo how he managed to reach the 38th floor without fighting any monsters. With a proud expression, Theo replies that it's because he has a wandering merchant license. Sejun is intrigued and asks Theo to explain what that is. Theo points to a coin-shaped object on his neck, explaining that it is a badge of a wandering merchant. He further elaborates that one needs to pay a certain amount of tower coins annually to maintain the status of a wandering merchant. The higher the level, the more money one has to pay, but they also receive more benefits. Having the Wandering Merchant badge offers certain protections, such as not being attacked by monsters. Sejun asks Theo if he can bring other hunters with him using his Wandering Merchant badge without the monsters attacking them. Theo replies that he cannot. He explains that he is the only one in possession of the badge, which means that monsters will still target any other hunters present. He further clarifies that even if he were to accompany the hunters, it would be of no use. This is because all merchants use a special Wandering Merchant portal that only those with a badge can access. Theo himself utilizes this portal to travel between floors. Without it, traversing between the 38th floor and their current floor would take an extended amount of time, possibly months. Out of curiosity, Sejun then asks, "Months? Which floor is that?" Theo calmly replies, "It's the 99th floor." Sejun's mind goes blank, and he stands frozen like a statue. Theo notices Sejun's reaction and reiterates, "We are currently on the 99th floor." It seems Theo assumes that Sejun didn't hear him the first time. As the realization sinks in, Sejun's silent expression turns into terror. His eyes widen in shock, and his legs begin to tremble uncontrollably. He falls to his knees, leaving Theo deeply concerned. Theo asks if Sejun is all right and what is happening to him, but Sejun's condition is so severe that he cannot hear Theo's words. Panic starts to creep across Sejun's face as his mind races with thoughts. Since Theo was able to travel swiftly between the 38th and their current floor, Sejun begins to fear that this floor might not be higher than the 40th floor. As Sejun's mind races with thoughts of being trapped on this floor for a lifetime, he becomes lost in his fears. Meanwhile, Theo continues calling out Sejun's name, desperately trying to get his attention. Seeing that Sejun is unresponsive, Theo takes drastic measures. With frustration and anger on his face, Theo slaps Sejun's face and starts squeezing it, demanding that Sejun wake up. Theo's voice trembles as he explains that their hard-earned payment has been reduced to ashes, pointing towards the piranhas that are now being burned. Then we see Sejun sitting beside the fire, once again grilling the piranhas. His thoughts are consumed by the idea that it took hunters years to clear just 2 floors. Is he truly destined to be stuck on this floor for a lifetime? Lost in contemplation, Sejun's attention is suddenly drawn to Theo's commanding voice from behind. Theo, in a bossy tone, addresses himself as Sales Cat Theo and gives Sejun an order. He instructs Sejun to grill the fish properly this time and not to let it burn like the last time. Sejun listens to Theo's command, glancing at him with a sidelong look. In a bossy tone, Sejun responds to Theo, informing him that 1 hour has already passed. Shocked, Theo's pupils widen as he realizes that time has passed much more quickly than expected. With a disappointed expression, he laments, "What a shame." Suddenly, a great idea dawns on Sejun as he looks at Theo's Wandering Merchant badge. In his mind, he envisions a scene where several hunters are injured and frustrated, not knowing what to do. Sejun appears in his imaginary thought, wearing a black hat, old-fashioned clothes, and a large bag on his shoulder. Theo, raising both his hands, greets the hunters and tells them to come, signaling that help is on its way. As Sejun and Theo strike a majestic pose, with one hand on their waist and the other on their forehead. A wave of excitement ripples through the crowd. Shouting with sparkly eyes, they declare that it is the legendary wandering merchant, the tower farmer Sejun, accompanied by his partner, the orange cat Theo, purchasing all of Sejun's vegetables. Sejun, with 2 full bags of tower coins in hand, and many other bags being offered to him by the other hunters, finds himself overwhelmed by the transactions. Meanwhile, Theo tries his best to manage the group of enthusiastic hunters, urging them to form a line and not to rush. Amidst the commotion, we catch a glimpse of Sejun's cute face, lost in thought about all that has transpired. Filled with excitement, Sejun asks Theo if he can become a wandering merchant and travel alongside him. In response, Theo chuckles and asks Sejun if he isn't aware that only creatures born inside the tower can become wandering merchants. He continues to laughingly explain that Sejun, being someone from outside the tower, wouldn't be eligible for such a role. Hearing this revelation, Sejun's expression changes. He ponders over his limited options, contemplating whether to feel anger or despair. As Theo continues with a proud face, confidently asserting that Sejun must let go of the idea, Sejun's body tenses up. His fists clench tightly, and his entire being trembles. Suddenly, he lets out a piercing scream, his face contorted with anguish. In a frenzy, he pulls at his hair, lost in a fit of despair and frustration. The scream echoes through the surroundings, lasting for several minutes, as Sejun curses the tower in his torment. The rabbits raised their ears and looked at Sejun with wide eyes, while the venom bees flew around busily, flapping their wings. Even the queen bee peeked her head out of the hive to see what was going on. The sound reaches the ears of the black dragon, who pauses mid-chew while devouring some roasted cherry tomatoes, momentarily startled by the noise. After some time, as Sejun's scream subsides, Theo, still in a state of fear, perches on top of the head of the annoyed black rabbit. Theo wonders aloud why Sejun suddenly started screaming. Sejun, regaining his senses, realizes that screaming and cursing won't help him in his current situation. He acknowledges that he should have anticipated that unexpected events could occur once he entered the tower, as it is an unpredictable place. Sejun reflects on the fact that seeking outside help is impossible in this situation. He contemplates what he should do to survive within the tower's confines. Meanwhile, the queen bee approaches his face, worried about what had caused Sejun to scream so loudly, and he then apologized to his cave family. The scene shifts, and we find ourselves in an office where plates of Sejun's cherry tomatoes are placed in front of Michael, a middle-aged man with blonde hair who is the vice president of Gaggle Food Company. Sitting beside him is Jenny, a black-haired woman who is the CEO of Eastern Pharmaceutical Company, casually folding her legs. Curious, Michael asks Jenny if the cherry tomatoes are the mysterious item that has been gaining popularity recently. Jenny confirms his assumption, mentioning that she received them from her brother, who is a member of the Phoenix Guild. She explains that, unlike her, who is not a hunter, Michael can see the status window of this particular cherry tomato because he is a hunter himself. Then Michael, after seeing the cherry tomatoes, throws them onto the plate, expressing his disdain for the item. Jenny, in response, questions whether the vice president of Gaggle, who controls 39% of the global food market, has lost his business acumen. Michael, with a threatening face, warns her about the consequences of speaking carelessly. In a confident manner, Jenny snaps her fingers, and a hologram of the cherry tomato data appears from her tablet, shocking Michael. Beads of sweat form on his face as he realizes the significance of the data. Jenny explains that although her company failed to extract the method of creating these cherry tomatoes, the research data they obtained is beyond anyone's imagination. Michael, still in shock, sits back down and asks why she showed him the data. Jenny, still folding her legs, replies in a deep voice that she is willing to sell this data to him in exchange for some secret project they have been working on. This revelation astonishes Michael, and he questions how she knew about the project. Jenny smirks, indicating that she has her own methods of acquiring information. She approaches Michael, leaning closer to him, lowering her voice, and offers him a cherry tomato with a smile on her face. She asks for his thoughts on her proposal. With a mischievous smile, Michael takes the cherry tomato, puts it in his mouth, and exclaims that it is sweet and delicious. He bursts into laughter while Jenny stands beside him. Childishly, Michael asks Jenny if she has another cherry tomato, to which she angrily replies that he has already eaten hers. If he wants more, she tells him that he should go to the tower and get one for himself. So, this episode ends here. If you have watched the video until now, please give a red heart in the comment, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.
So, that wraps up this chapter, folks. I'm concluding the video right here. Stay tuned for the thrilling developments in the next episode. And don't forget to show your support with a like and subscribe, fueling my motivation to bring you even more captivating comic chapters in the future. Until next time, happy reading!